versions of what we call collectivism. We're here to tell you that collectivist experiments are never the solution to the problems that afflict the citizens of the world. Rather, they are the root cause. Do believe me, no one better placed than us, Argentines, to testify to these 2 points.
And he went on to detail socialism's record in, say, the last 120 years or so. And again, he's doing this before a collection of the leading socialists of the world, at least the Western world. It was rather fun to watch.
It should never be forgotten that socialism is always and everywhere an impoverishing phenomenon that has failed in all countries where it's been tried out. It's been a failure economically, socially, culturally, and it also murdered over 100 million human beings. The essential problem in the West today is not just that we need to come to grips with those who, even after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the overwhelming empirical evidence, continue to advocate for impoverishing socialism. But there's also our own leaders, thinkers, and academics who, relying on a misguided theoretical framework, undermine the fundamentals of the system that has given us the greatest expansion of wealth and prosperity in our history.
If you don't want to listen to Milei's 23-minute speech, do someone a solid. I don't know, like a member of the Chicago Teachers Union, and pass this along. Like just maybe a friend of yours who is wooed by the government-centric model that's pursued in Chicago and Illinois. That would be socialism. Things couldn't be going better. It's going great. Or if they are confused as to why things aren't going better, why they're not going great. I mean, remember, Milei wins the presidency, this upstart academic, never held public office before, sound familiar? Well, Trump was an academic, but you get the point, outsider.
Never held office before, yeah.
And he comes in on a Brexit Trump-like revolt of working people in Argentina languishing under something like 140% inflation month over month at the end of last year.
Yeah, they're heading towards Venezuela.
So
and
now
he got in there right away and started cutting spending and cutting, non-essential government jobs.
He's cutting agencies.
Right. Departments.
It cuts like 14 or 13 of 22 agencies he's moving. So, I offered this commentary in advance of his election. Maybe it was right after his election, but can Milei save the West? And by that I mean somebody espousing the ideas that built the West, which just not a lot of people do anymore, including a lot of Republicans in this country, and certainly Republicans in this state. So I don't know, that maybe I find Milei to be more of a breath of fresh air than other people do, just because this is all basic stuff to me, but in our politics, I don't hear it. I don't hear it enough. I don't hear it offered in the succinct, direct way that Milei offers it. And it's a mistake. I mean, I know there are people that believe the same things he does. There are the Mike Lees of the world and Ted Cruz's and others. Trump to a certain extent, although I think Milei and Trump would have some disagreement about trade policy. But that's okay. But this is important. And it's also important because it's not coming from the big bad Americans. It's coming from a leader of a once wealthy South American country ravaged by the autocratic policies of Peronistas for so many generations, and now turning back, everything old is new again, turning back to the tried and the true, free minds and free markets, and advocating for free minds and free markets in the West today. That's the revolutionary position. Can you believe it? It is. Milei also offered a pretty nice distillation of what happened after the wall fell. And it was made clear, and should have been made clear, to everyone in the West that collectivism, central planning, socialism, and communism belonged on the ash heap of history. They should have left it there. So what did the socialists do?
Given the dismal failure of collectivist models and the undeniable advances in the free world, socialists were forced to change their agenda. They left behind the class struggle based on the economic system and replaced this with other supposed social conflicts which are just as harmful to life as a community and to economic growth. The first of these new battles was the ridiculous and unnatural fight between man and woman. Libertarianism already provides for equality of the sexes. The cornerstone of our creed says that all humans are created equal, that we all have the same unalienable rights granted by the Creator, including life, freedom, and ownership. All that this radical feminism agenda has led to is greater state intervention to hinder the economic process, giving a job to bureaucrats who have not contributed anything to society. Examples, ministries of women or international organizations devoted to promoting this agenda. Another conflict presented by socialists is that of humans against nature, claiming that we human beings damage the planet, which should be protected at all costs, even going as far as advocating for population control mechanisms or the bloody abortion agenda. Unfortunately, these harmful ideas have taken a strong hold in our society. Neo-Marxists have managed to co-opt the common sense of the Western world, and this they have achieved by appropriating the media, culture, universities, and also international organizations. The latter case is the most serious one, probably, because these are institutions that have enormous influence on political and economic decisions of the countries that make up the multilateral organizations. Fortunately, there's more and more of us who are daring to make our voices heard, because we see that if we don't truly and decisively fight against these ideas, the only possible fate is for us to have increasing levels of state regulation, socialism, poverty, and less freedom, and therefore will be having worse standards of living.
Key connection he made there. Listen up, you cowardly Republicans and amoral business people, because he's got a message for you, too. When the socialists lost the economic fight, they invented new fights, cultural ones. Did you hear him? They invented cultural ones. And the cultural fights they invented are the back door to the economics they want, the control they desire. So you can't do the I'm only interested in fiscal issues nonsense and think you're going to win the day for markets, for free enterprise. The dots connecting? I know probably in our audience I'm sort of screaming into the abyss, but again, share it with your friends. Share it with your I'm a fiscal conservative but a social Marxist friends. They don't use that word, but that's what they are. You know what being a social Marxist and a fiscal conservative is? Being a Marxist. When they lost the competition on economic models, they invented new fights to get to the same place. You can't retreat from those fights. So here's his message to business people. Find your sacks.
I would like to leave a message for all business people here and for those who are not here. in person but are following from around the world. Do not be intimidated either by the political class or by parasites who live off the state. Do not surrender to a political class that only wants to stay in power and retain its privileges. You are social benefactors. You're heroes. You're the creators of the most extraordinary period of prosperity we've ever seen. Let no one tell you that your ambition is immoral. If you make money, it's because you offer a better product at a better price, thereby contributing to general well-being. Do not surrender to the advance of the state. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. You are the true protagonists of this story. And rest assured that as from today, Argentina is your staunch, unconditional ally. Thank you very much, and long live freedom. Damn it.
Long live freedom, damn it.
I mean, what a way to exit.
The smattering of applause. And
he made people feel uncomfortable because he was telling the truth.
I wish he would have brought his chainsaw with him, too, and then ran out into the crowd like a maniac. But this guy is...
Bring that on the campaign trail.
Yeah, this guy is great. And for him to stand in front of the world's statists and say the state is the problem.
Parasites who suck off the government. Yep.
Long live Javier Milei. Damn it! Frank, Arlington Heights, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, good morning. John Tammany always talks about how markets are so much better because information is provided to people. That is so true, but I think an argument that could work better with people, I know it works in class with kids, they understand it, is that markets with consumers and producers making the decisions through the pricing mechanism, there are more minds at work on economic problems, on the economic problem of scarcity. Command economies, it's central planning. You have a committee of bureaucrats just on that aspect alone. The fact that you have a limited number of minds working on it in a socialist state, and you have all of the minds working on it in a free market, that appeals to people. People can understand that. That, I think, is the best argument.
I like that. That's a good one. I think a moral argument is important, too, but I like that. By the way, the Frank from Arlington Heights, you always catch his in-depth history with Frank from Arlington Heights Tuesdays at 6:55. Yep. So you want to mark that down in your calendar now that we got Frank. All right, thanks for the call, as always, Frank. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Calling all firearm owners, enthusiasts, and Second Amendment patriots. Both experienced and novice customers are cordially invited to visit MOA Industries in Bensonville. MOA Industries is a Class 7 firearms dealer providing a myriad of services, including firearm sales, gunsmithing, certified Cerakote application, laser engraving, firearms instruction on a private range, firearms transfers for only $40, and discounts for veterans and first responders. With a large selection of firearms, customization services, and CCL license classes and renewals, MOA Industries strives to be your one-stop shop for all your firearms needs. Visit MOAindustries.com today. Your Second Amendment needs are the first priority. No high-pressure salesmen, just friendly, relaxed professionals dedicated to providing the best service possible. MOA Industries is located in nearby Bensonville. Ready to pull the trigger? Call 630-766-7593. That's 630-766-7593. Or visit online at MOAindustries.com. That's MOAindustries.com. MOAindustries.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon has some advice, campaign advice for Democrats. Interesting, 6:06.
He was asking Democrats to grow up and later demonizing Trump supporters. It continues. We went from deplorables to crazies. Now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Fire damaging 2 homes in a West Englewood blaze overnight. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
The U.S. goes on the attack again in Yemen. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, targeting Houthi militants for the 4th time in less than a week after another American ship was hit near the Red Sea, causing a fire and damage.
We're going to continue to work with our partners in the region to prevent those attacks or deter those attacks.
Major General Pat Ryder at the Pentagon, hours after the U.S. redesignated the Iran-backed Houthis a terror group for all the recent attacks disrupting shipping. Iran's also been busy launching attacks this week in Iraq and Syria and Pakistan, which has retaliated.
These strikes by Pakistan's Air Force allegedly targeted militant hideouts, much like Iran said after its own airstrikes yesterday. It appears the two countries are targeting separate groups they accuse the other of harbouring. Iran state TV says at least 7 people died in Pakistan's attack.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. A bad weather disaster in Portland, Oregon. A power line fell onto a car in an ice storm, killing 3 people and injuring a baby. It's 5 days now before the New Hampshire Republican primary. Nikki Haley says,
we're focused on Trump. That's all we're focused on. DeSantis, I forgot about him the second he left New Hampshire.
He is a distant third in the polls there.
DeSantis moved a majority of his campaign staff to South Carolina, Haley's home state, insisting a loss there will deliver a knockout blow to Haley's campaign, though DeSantis tells Fox he's not skipping New Hampshire.
Fox's Brian Yennis. Former President Trump with double-digit leads in most polls campaigned there again last night after he again went to court in New York.
It's a totally rigged deal. This whole thing is rigged. Election interference.
Talking about the civil defamation trial, the judge threatened to remove him from, admonishing the former president for muttering witch hunt and disgrace during E. Jean Carroll's testimony. The author has sued him again for more damages after already winning her first case, alleging he defamed her, denying allegations of sexual abuse decades ago. The former president won't be there today, instead going to his mother-in-law's funeral. America's listening to Fox News.
19 degrees. Light snow showers crossing the area. 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Fire damaging 2 homes in the West Englewood neighborhood overnight. Chicago Fire says the blaze tore through 2 1.5-story frame bungalows on South Hoyne. 1 person rushed to the hospital in critical condition. New emails show the Johnson administration knew about desperately bad conditions at a city-run migrant shelter in the Pilsen neighborhood. Back in October, Alderman emailed Johnson staffers bringing to light unsanitary and unsafe conditions at the shelter. The email pointed to insufficient bathrooms, raw sewage, and cockroach infestations. At an unrelated event, the governor, J.B. Pritzker, was asked about the unsafe conditions.
We are trying to keep, in very difficult circumstances, trying to keep people safe in shelters as we're moving them on to more permanent housing and jobs. So I know that's the mayor's dedicated to that, as am I.
City Council Latino Caucus members will convene a meeting today to try to come up with a short-term fix. Heather Mack will spend 26 years in federal prison for her mother's brutal killing at an Indonesian resort in 2014. Former Oak Park woman faced federal charges in the U.S., accusing her and her former boyfriend of plotting the killing of Sheila Von Wiesmack, whose body was discovered in a suitcase left outside a Bali resort. Afterwards, Bill Weiss spoke for the family.
That's the first time I've ever heard Heather apologize, and I did appreciate that. That's the first time I heard her admit her responsibility.
Heather Mack has already spent 7 years in a prison in Indonesia. Wilmington residents are trying to hold back rising river waters with sandbags, while emergency officials are trying to melt Kankakee River ice jams. Right now, that ice jam is 10 miles in building this morning, and Will County is beginning to pump warm water from the nearby Dresden power plant in, around, and under river ice to melt a channel and free the ice in the jam. Meantime, local emergency officials are keeping an eye on a building ice jam on the Des Plaines River in Riverside that has been building up since the weekend. The White Sox are in talks about building a new stadium. Sun-Times says the team is negotiating with developer Related Midwest about the possibility of building a new ballpark in the South Loop on a parcel known as the 78. White Sox current stadium, Guaranteed Rate Field, is owned by taxpayers partially and managed by the Illinois Sports Facilities Authority, which has not been involved in any discussions. The Bulls take on Toronto tonight. Blackhawks had their game canceled last night. That game will get underway at 6 this evening. Boo Buie, a team-high 20, as Northwestern came up with a Big Ten basketball win over Maryland, 72-69. The news service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency, and you can go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
When you're serious about your concealed carry training and education and are ready to learn from an active police officer with a teaching degree, check out Illinois Concealed Carry Training in Midlothian. You'll learn safe, responsible firearm use, home defense planning, conflict avoidance, situational awareness, and how to remain physically, morally, and financially safe in the event you must use your firearm in self-defense or the defense of another. Weekday and weekend classes available.
I'm Sergeant Gary Carr, police firearms trainer and the owner of Illinois Concealed Carry Training. We'll arm you with what really counts: knowledge and training. All concealed carry curriculums are not created equal. This may be the single most important decision you'll ever make for yourself and your loved ones. Choose between 3 and 16-hour classes that are available both weekdays and weekends. We are your one-stop for concealed carry classes, fingerprints, and legal defense plans.
Register for a class today and get 10% off class fees with promo code AM560. Visit IllinoisConcealedCarry.com. That's IllinoisConcealedCarry.com.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
6:09, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Good news for Willow Springs, Archer Avenue and LaGrange Road. That major intersection has an accident cleared. I-65, though, Northwest Indiana. Northbound 65 at US 30, still stop-and-go traffic from an earlier accident involving a semi. DuSable Lakeshore Drive remains shut down. Southbound between North Avenue and Chicago. Traffic diverted off at North Avenue. Follow your detour to get back on. And DuSable Lakeshore Drive will remain closed for the time being. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. From our QC Kinetics Weather Center, here's our AccuWeather meteorologist, Steve Williams.
A winter weather advisory in effect this evening. Clouds and cold today. The high 23. Some snow tonight, 1 to 2 inches, and a low of 10. Snow around tomorrow morning, maybe another inch. The high tomorrow at 12. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
19 at O'Hare, 21 Midway, 18 Aurora, light snow in Lansing, and 20. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Before we get to what J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon had to say, there's some new polling out in the primary race in New Hampshire. So I saw Boston Globe, Suffolk University poll had Trump up 16. I think St. Anselm had him up 13. But there's something else about that. I think it was the Anselm poll. If you looked at the crosstabs, among self-identified Republicans, Trump was up 40. So remember, New Hampshire's an open primary. Anybody can vote in either primary, if there was a primary on the other side. But anybody can vote. His point is this. Even if Haley comes close, even if Haley is victorious, the race is over. Right. Because once you get back to Republicans determining who the Republican victor will be in primaries, Trump is lapping, maybe twice lapping Nikki Haley. So
and he's destroying DeSantis in New Hampshire.
Well, yeah, of course. It's over.
It's over because he's going to win South Carolina. It's over. You're right.
All right.
For the better of the party, should they just give up?
They do what they want. They do what they want. I'm just relaying the numbers. You can campaign as long as you want to campaign. It doesn't bother me. Nikki Haley wants to stay on the trail. If DeSantis wants to stay on the trail, it doesn't bother me. I have my perspective on whether I think it helps or hurts them. In terms of, is there an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish and is what you're doing in furtherance of that objective? I'm not seeing it for DeSantis. I see it for Nikki Haley through New Hampshire, but not after.
And also, I want to get something off my chest. I just tweeted this out. You were correct about Scott Kirby being a drag queen.
Yeah, she's transvestite.
There's
the
new
United
video
CEO
of him.
Airlines.
Yeah, I just tweeted it out. If you can follow at Amy Jacobson and said that you were right. There's a new video of him mocking Lady Gaga, dressed up like Lady Gaga, dancing and.
Well, I'm sure he's not mocking. I'm sure it's a tribute.
Whatever. It's very disturbing. He's crawling on his belly, and I think he really embraces the heels and the short dress. And you were right.
Well, that's what transvestites do, as I understand it. Men dressing up as women. But maybe, he is a Chicago resident. Maybe he'll take his act to the Baton Club or something.
Oh, Baton Club's closed now.
Maybe
it is? Kit Kat Club.
Oh, is there another one? Okay.
Well, Kit Kat Club.
There's got to be some place where he can go perform and maybe have a United Airlines employees outing. At least the ones that aren't sidelined because they wouldn't comply with the COVID mandate.
That's pretty. That's a CEO of a airline. That's pretty scary. He doesn't seem like a serious person, Dan. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're laying down.
So if you get a chance, look at it.
All right, Jamie Dimon went on the Investotainment Network, CNBC, yesterday. They're live from Davos because that's where
all the cool kids are hanging out. Right?
Well, all the kleptocrats and fund managers and industry titans. That's where BlackRock's DEI team is hanging out. So that's where you're going to find everybody. Certainly, Aaron Ross Sorkin. Anyway, Jamie Dimon is sort of a on-again, off-again Democrat. He'll get about as far right as Nikki Haley. I don't know that he goes further right than that under any circumstances. Yeah, he's a big banker. He's a mercantilist. As much as these Wall Street guys like to talk about free enterprise, they're government colluders, which is why you have Treasury secretaries that almost always hail from a big bank, Goldman Sachs in particular, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley.
And people listen to them because they have power and money.
Jamie, they represent a certain perspective. A lot of people have power and money, but they represent a certain perspective on things. And so a lot of people move in unison with them because of the power and money they have in the industry they're in and at the top of the industry, but also because everybody understands that they're in liege with big government. So it's sort of two worlds. Well, it's the perception that there are two worlds they're in when it's really sort of a hybrid world. Anyway, Jamie Dimon has a message for Dems, and this is sort of like the Bill Maher message for Dems. It's like, it's not that I support any sort of conservative. It's that I want my team to do better. That's how I take this. And it's sort of the typical corporate. I mean, I know like people get excited about what you're about to hear. Oh, Jamie Dimon said this. Oh, maybe he's seen the light. Maybe he's turning around. No. Bill Maher's not turning around. These other mouthpieces of the left, when they say something that runs afoul of leftist orthodoxy, it doesn't mean that they are having an epiphany. It means they want their side to do better. And in Jamie Dimon's position, he also wants to sound like someone who is, hey, we have to unite the country kind of patter. So anyway, that's my context to this comment.
And I just also want to point out, I wish the Democrats would think a little more carefully when they talk about MAGA. And if you travel this country, and the country's unbelievable. We took our bus trip this year, and Leslie Picker was on Spokane and Boise and Bozeman. People are growing. They're hungry to grow. They're innovating. It's everywhere. It's not just Silicon Valley. So we've got this great hand. But when people say MAGA, they're actually looking at people voting for Trump, and they think they're voting, and they're basically scapegoating them, that you are like him. But I don't think they're voting for Trump because of his family values. Now, if you look, just take a step back, be honest. He was kind of right about NATO, kind of right about immigration. Mm-hmm. He grew the economy quite well.
China virus.
Tax reform worked. Yeah. He was right about some of China. I don't like what he did.
No, I said China virus.
Yeah, I understand. He may have been right. And I don't like how he said things about Mexico. I don't like, but he wasn't wrong about some of these critical issues, and that's why they're voting for him. And I think people should be a little more respectful of our fellow citizens. And when you guys have people up here, you should always ask the why. Not like it's a binary thing. You're supporting Trump, you're not supporting Trump. Why are you supporting Trump?
It's hard to hate 75 million of your fellow Americans. And
I agree.
It's done quite
and, the Democrats have done a pretty good job with the deplorables, hugging onto their Bibles and their beer and their guns. I mean, really, could we just stop that stuff and actually grow up and treat other people with respect and listen to them a little bit? And I do think the economy will affect, and I think this negative talk about MAGA is going to hurt Biden's election campaign.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636-DA, turnkey.pro text line. Are you encouraged by Jamie Dimon's words? That represents a real mind shift and a tectonic shift in the political landscape because Jamie Dimon said to the left, grow up and be a little bit more respectful of Trump voters?
Well, I found it refreshing. I mean, we've been slammed, and especially Trump had the biggest victory in Iowa caucus history, and what did they do? They tried to take it away from him and made up lies like, no, this isn't a big deal because half the people didn't vote for him. Seriously. And listen to this. They are ripping on Iowans, calling them white Christians and other names.
These are white Christians. That this is a state that is overrepresented by white Christians.
You voted for a guy who said, come, risk your lives for the Grand Wizard. Come in the snow and the sleet, because I am more important than your life.
It's that Trump has in some ways become religion for a certain section of the American electorate, and especially for evangelicals, that it's not about the virtue anymore, it's about the vice that Trump expresses.
19%. So I think we're all sitting here disgusted that they would vote for someone like this.
That was the reaction the day after Trump won Iowa.
Yeah, from The View and
CNN,
Joy Reid.
and MSNBC,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
ABC News.
what do you expect?
I mean,
they say the same thing.
aren't
They say the
people
same thing. They say the same thing every cycle.
But now we
Yeah,
went from
Iowa-
deplorables
Iowa-
to crazies, and Iowa's white and
yeah.
evangelicals. Yes, white Christian people live in Iowa. So what? They have a right to vote.
Okay. Right. This is why the Dems removed Iowa from the first contest, because it's white Christian. They use white Christian as a pejorative. They are white Christians, and there's nothing wrong with being a Christian. There's nothing wrong with being white, although being white isn't a calling card. Being Christian is what represents their values. Anyway, this is what they do. I mean, these are identitarians. These are the. I mean, what? It's like, why even get worked up about it?
I'm sick of it being
So-
demonized. It's just getting really old.
Well,
Because they're running scared now, Dan.
Who says they're running scared?
Kamala Harris. She was on The View yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Can we get back to Jamie Dimon?
Yes, let's go back to Jamie Dimon. I was encouraged. You just think it's why would he even say if he didn't mean it?
Because civil strife is bad for business.
Okay.
That's why. Because he wants the Dems to do better. That's why. Because he misunderstands the moment. That's why. And he misunderstands the party to which he largely affiliates, where this is at. There's a lot of Louis Philippes in that party. They'll be the most surprised when it's their turn for the guillotine. They will have seen nothing coming. So you'll pardon me if I'm not so excited as the CNBC desk or the financial analysts and so forth who think that this was some sort of seismic moment. Ooh, a real talking to from Jamie Dimon to the left. As if they're listening, as if that's where the base of the party to which he largely affiliates is. So now he saunters over to Nikki Haley in the 11th hour because he's got some issues with the party to which he normally affiliates. So he's going to go sort of with a acceptable facsimile of it on the other, technically on the other side. If you're looking to Fortune 500 CEOs in this country at this moment, then you're looking in the wrong place.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You can text us at 64636. Type in DA, then a quick comment.
Robert in Bloomingdale, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Barack Obama won Iowa. He beat Mitt Romney in Iowa. And also, I think he won the primary for the Democratic nomination. So I don't know what the problem with Iowa is. I don't know what happened. They elected Barack Obama, and we had butterflies and rainbows all 8 years.
Well, right. By the way, there's a lot of Trump voters who voted for Obama. They were good when they voted for Obama. They became racist hillbillies when they voted for Trump.
White Christians from Iowa.
What is unusual about that characterization and that hypocrisy from the left? If you're surprised, you're late to the dance. Marv in Ridgeway, Colorado.
Hi, regarding Jamie Dimon's going on a bus trip through Washington and all the way over to Bozeman, which I'm also up in Montana also. I'm always amazed and a little pissed off that these guys have to just go out in the country to see that these rural people have real concerns. They're entrepreneurial, and that Jamie Dimon should change his mind and his like-minded people, and also that Jamie Dimon and his like-minded people,
yeah,
Jamie Dimon and like-minded people. They get so enlightened when they go to Davos. It's like, come on, man, get real.
Yeah, Marv, because Jamie Dimon was camping out in a trailer at Yosemite when he was making his way up to Big Sky Country, right? He was going to see regular people in Bozeman, Montana. I mean, anybody know what Bozeman, Montana is these days?
Los Angeles.
I mean, right, exactly. I mean, it's thanks for the call, Marv. It's one of these enclaves for the rich and famous these days. I mean,
the rich in L.A. and they all moved to Los Angeles.
I finally got out to Sun Valley and Beaver Creek and Aspen. And
Breckenridge was fine this time of year.
And met regular people, and I realized they're not all crazy. Yeah, who was he hanging out with? He was just going antiquing in the quaint downtowns. I mean, give me a freaking break. That's what I'm talking about. It's such a fraud.
Visiting a nice B&B.
Good grief. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took. I didn't have to talk to multiple people in siloed departments with multiple forms to fill out. One call did it all. As the one who was always looking out for my clients, it was a great change to know that my bank, Signature Bank, was looking out for me.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Getting a lot of text message about that Scott Kirby Lady Gaga impersonator. He said him crawling around on the ground and then standing up. Yikes. Spooky giant. This is very terrifying. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a Scott Kirby story, too, I want to tell, but I'll tell you off air, Dan, and then let me know if we should say it on the air.
Was it when you and Scott Kirby were traveling around the country, meeting regular people in Jackson Hole to get a pulse on America, camping in the Grand Tetons?
Near Zion. Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
All right, balance of nature. I love it. I take it every day. Why? Because I'm not getting enough fruits and veggies on my own, and that's where balance of nature comes in. 31 different fruits and vegetables. What they do is they take the fruits and veggies and they put it through a powdered system, an advanced vacuum cold process, which stabilizes the maximum nutrient content. Real food, real science, real nutrition. So get the nutrition your body needs and just feel good that you're doing something for yourself. I mean, there's a lot of things we can't control in this world, but we can control what goes in our body. So try it out, Balance of Nature. The number to call is 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or online at balanceofnature.com, discount code Chicago.
Do relationships today seem harder than ever? In the world of IT management and infrastructure, what if you had a business partner that thinks like you, is easy to work with, and just seems to get it? MS Consulting Services has been doing this for 25 years. But don't listen to us, listen to some actual customers.
This is Bruno. I work for a medical software company. Being in this field, trust is very important. MS Consulting has been my trusted partner for almost 20 years. They are experienced, dependable, and honest. They do not try to oversell. They truly want to help and are willing to go out of their way to prove it.
Hi, my name's Gary. MS Consulting Services was laser focused on understanding the needs of our business. It was a priority to them to understand the needs of our customers. They're not just helpful, they really are experts at what they do.
So if you want a relationship like this, call John at 1-800-MIT-0404. You'll be glad you did.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, And one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity. Chronic pain, it can ruin your marriage, bring on depression. It's no way to live. But now there's a non-surgical way to get rid of that hip, back, and joint pain. It's called QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Did you know that your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue? And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetic providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People like you and me with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. Folks, this is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. So fight back against the pain. Take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. This is the number, 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
I'm looking at that Scott Kirby video, and I'm just thinking,
what
is RuPaul the chairman of the board of United Airlines? In other words, how did this guy get hired or elevated to CEO?
And then his little minions are cheering it on like he's some god or something. It's so creepy. Okay, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, we've got another bipartisan proposal on border security. This coming out of the House. We'll examine it. 6:36.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
19 degrees. Coming up on 6:32, and Texas authorities this morning have begun arresting illegal migrants, charging them with criminal trespassing. Overnight, it marked the first time the policy was enacted after the state took control of Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. President Biden has asked the Supreme Court to intervene there after Texas sued over the Border Patrol being ordered to remove razor wire put in place by the state. A federal report into the halting and haphazard law enforcement response to the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, is about to be released. The Department of Justice will likely revive scrutiny of hundreds of officers who responded to the 2022 massacre but waited more than an hour to confront and kill the gunman. The U.S. military has launched yet another wave of missile strikes against Houthi-controlled sites in Yemen.
The United States conducted a fourth round of strikes against Iran-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. More than a dozen launching positions were hit with Tomahawk missiles, according to U.S. Central Command. Now, in a statement, CENTCOM Commander Eric Kurilla saying, quote, the actions by the Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists continue to endanger international mariners and disrupt the commercial shipping lanes in the southern Red Sea and adjacent waterways. We will continue to take actions to protect the lives of innocent mariners, and we will always protect our people.
Fox's Trey Yingst, who reports the strikes were launched from the Red Sea and hit 14 command and control centers. A state lawmaker is making an effort to turn Pluto into Arizona's official state planet. Republican Representative Justin Wilmeth has been advocating online. Pluto, you may recall, was discovered at the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, back in 1930. And was considered a planet for nearly 8 decades. Fire damaged 2 homes in the West Englewood neighborhood overnight. A woman was rushed from the scene to a local hospital. New emails show the Johnson administration knew about desperately bad conditions at a city-run migrant shelter in Pilsen. The emails point to insufficient bathrooms, raw sewage, and cockroach infestations. City Council's Latino caucus will convene a meeting today to try to come up with a short-term fix. Thousands of migrant students are now enrolled in CPS, and teachers are complaining they need more resources to help deal with the influx of new students.
We have needs, and these needs will not be met alone by the district or by the city.
Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates, CTU is asking for more bilingual teachers. 100% of tuition costs for current teachers to get bilingual certificates, and a migrant coordinator at each school. A Texas transportation company is suing the city of Chicago over restrictions on buses carrying migrants. Wynn Transportation filed suit earlier this month, accusing the city of violating federal and state law. Chicago sports, Bulls and Raptors on tap for tonight. Blackhawks had their games snowed out last night. They'll try again tonight. Big Ten hoops, Northwestern behind 20 from Boo Buie, beat Maryland 72-69. 6:35, we'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This radio station is always on, but sometimes you need more content that you can take with you anywhere. That's why we invented the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You'll find all the great hosts on this radio station, plus a few more, like Charlie Kirk, Dinesh D'Souza, Trish Regan, Jenna Ellis, and Dennis and Julie. There's literally no end to what we can teach you. It's like radio on demand, and just like radio, it's always on. Go find out what you're missing. Download the app, SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you. You've watched the news. Rising crime has been affecting our everyday lives in Illinois more and more these days. Blue Star Security can protect you, your business, or your place of worship. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 900 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Varchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. The Blue Star team is made up of over 900 state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals. We serve businesses and private organizations with supply chain and special event security, and also protect our loved ones at places of worship and schools all across the Chicagoland area. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity, while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at BlueStarSecurityLLC.com. That's BlueStarSecurityLLC.com.
Have you saved enough? What are you going to do with Social Security? What will your taxes look like in retirement? Scott Tucker believes retirement planning should be easy, and you should be able to get all the information you need in one place. That's why Scott created the Retirement Decoded Toolkit, a comprehensive resource for your retirement. In it, you'll find a copy of his latest book, Escape Illinois: Should I Stay or Should I Go? This book will provide insight on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your free Retirement Decoded Toolkit, text KIT, K-I-T, to 847-474-3888, or go to retirementdecoded.com. Now, in addition to the book, you'll also receive resources on retirement's most common concerns. Get your Retirement Decoded Toolkit from Scott Tucker right now by texting KIT to 847-474-3888, or go to retirementdecoded.com. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. A registered investment advisor, this is a paid placement.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No fee refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
6:38, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Wendy's. When you think Wendy's Biggie Bag, think your go-to meal deal, because with your choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich, 4-piece nugs, junior fries, and a small soft drink, Biggie hits every time. So grab a Wendy's Biggie Bag today. Ike inbound 53-390 to the old post office. You're jammed up inbound at Mill Road with an accident. Traveling on the Stevenson brake lights this morning, Harlem Avenue to Kedzie, inbound from the Tri-State, a half hour into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan outbound accident just after 95th, near backed up to 87. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, mostly cloudy, cold. Light snow showers in the area, high 23. More snow overnight, 1 to 2 inches, a low of 10. 19 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We'll talk more about this with former acting ICE Director Tom Homan, who joins us at the bottom of the 7 o'clock hour. But to give you a chance to weigh in on this, too, there's another bipartisan legislative offering in the direction of a deal on immigration, this time coming from the House. Remember, there's one in the works in the Senate that we talked about earlier in the week, this between Pagliacci Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, and Jim Langford, Republican from Oklahoma. That one would increase green cards by $50,000 a year, work permits for adult children of H-1B visa holders, immediate work permits to every illegal alien released from custody, so paroled. That's the term. Taxpayer-funded lawyers to certain unaccompanied and mentally incompetent aliens.
Oh, boy.
5,000 migrants per day allowed into the U.S.
Heck no.
And then restricting parole for those who enter without authorization between ports of entry. That's what has been reported as the top lines from this Schumer-Langford this forthcoming Schumer-Langford bill. Okay, over on the House side, our friend Brett Baer caught up with two legislators, two ladies of the House. One is somebody many people may be familiar with because she would appear occasionally on Tucker Carlson's show when he was on Fox, and they get into it pretty good because they clearly have different views on what border security policy should look like. And also, importantly, this is an important discussion of it always, the sequencing. We can't do everything at once. There are some things that we can do to build trust on this issue, mainly trust with the American people. I'm not even talking about Republican Democrats, but trust with the American people to show that the federal government is capable of doing something sensible to bring this along to a place where maybe some reasonable compromises can be made. So anyway, I don't think the Bipartisan Dignity Act is the ticket. This is Representative Maria Gonzalez. She's the one that used to be on Tucker occasionally. They get into it. She's a Republican from Florida. And her colleague in this Dignity Act is Hillary Scholten, who is a lawyer and a Dem from Michigan. Brett Baer intros the broad strokes of this offering and then turns it over to Maria Gonzalez.
Act $25 billion to secure the border and catch and release, expedite asylum processing, criminal background checks, restitution, mandatory e-verify for employment, year-round H-2A farm ranch worker visas. Congresswoman Salazar, why is this important and how does it track differently than what's happening up there?
It's very important because it's the only bill in Congress that is bipartisan, and not only that, it accomplishes exactly what the country needs: to seal the border, secure the border, and once that is done, once that border is secured, then we look back and we give some type of dignity to those people who have been here for more than 5 years, who are contributing with your economy. Like my colleague said, dignity is not an immigration reform law. This is a national security, it's an economic bill, because you know that the business sector is saying we need hands. Those hands are here. We just need to legalize them. I'm not talking about citizenship. I'm talking about dignity, not amnesty, dignity.
This bill has the only bipartisan support. I just want to underscore that. There have been a number of resolutions, a number of bills put forward. This is the only bipartisan bill in Congress right now.
Right. So that's important to distinguish. Congresswoman Salazar, this is different from H.R. 2, which did pass the House.
Dignity has the same provisions as H.R. 2. Because H.R. 2 is basically secure the border and end catch and release. And we're ending catch and release with something called humanitarian centers.
I've worked on immigration issues as an attorney.
Humanitarian centers, dignity. I think we're going to get hung up on most particular. $25 billion is fully secure the border. I mean, I don't know what's contained in that $25 billion, but I think you'll hear Tom Homan tell us next hour what he said before, which is this whole argument about money for the border is a false front by big spenders in both parties in D.C. to appear to be doing something when it's a policy change, not a resource issue that's required. Policy changes, plural, I should say. It's policy changes that should be prioritized, not throwing more money at the problem for this personnel or for that structure. Policy changes with respect to remain in Mexico, safe third country, the end of catch and release, yes. But the problem is you do the ending of catch and release at the same time you're providing a pathway to permanent legal residency for people who've been in this country illegally for 5 years. So that is clearly markedly different than what you're hearing from, well, Republican presidential candidates, notably Trump and DeSantis, in terms of the significant deportation proceedings that will need to be initiated to remove all of the gotaways to the extent that they can be located, particularly, I would say, in rank order priority of those that, basic common sense here, there are terrorist concerns about, they're convicted criminals, those sorts of things, and then work your way down from highest priority to lowest priority in a sensible way, since you can't do everything at once. But the problem, and this is like typical of a politician like Gonzalez, forget the Democrat for a second. We're going to do everything because the Democrats say it's broken. And as a great man once said, it's not broken, it's fixed. That was me. I was talking about Illinois, but it applies here too. They want this situation at the border that we have. They want it. If they didn't want it, then Joe Biden would do something about it. There's a lot he can do by executive fiat.
Right, but
this is what they want. It's what the sanctuary city mayors and governors want. I keep trying to drive this point home. They're complaining about money. They're not complaining about people in this country illegally.
Right.
I don't think that's clear to everybody.
Well,
and it's certainly, and Maria Gonzalez isn't making it any more clear when she's talking about money and she wants to do some grand bargain. There's no grand bargain. There's no grand bargain. At least that should be the position of Republicans. There are these policy changes that must be made as an opener for discussions about other things, resources at the border, structures, immigration judges, guest worker programs. All that stuff is off the table. I refuse to talk about it. This should be Speaker Johnson's position. Okay. Should be McConnell's position, too. Should be the Republican Party's position. We're not doing it. It's a false argument. It's a misdirection play to we're going to finance 2,000 more border agents and the Republicans are against it. Pound sand. Not a resource issue, not a personnel issue. It's a policy issue. And until these specific policies are exacted, there is nothing to talk about. And we'll take this around to the country and we'll explain it over and over again. And we'll speak with one voice on the topic and we'll make it as crystal clear as it can be. They want this chaos. They want people coming into this country illegally with no stop. And then we'll argue about the resources after the fact. That's always their game. Destroy and then figure out how to paper over the destruction with money.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line.
John in Florence, Wisconsin.
Yeah, creative destruction. Hey, Dan, you two things. It's not broken, it's fixed. Oh, yeah, it's fixed all right. And I would like to think that with the doubling down and death of legacy media, people are figuring it out. President Trump or the clown in the Oval Office right now, you pick up the phone, you call down to the president of Mexico, you say, if you don't put a hold on your end of this, we will start restricting the $60 billion in money that your nationals send back into Mexico every year.
We'll
clamp that down on all these transfers. That's what Trump did instead of putting everything behind the wall, to his credit. The second thing is that should be the the national campaign. Is it doesn't take a wall, it takes policy, and all these people, Dan, they're not getaways and they're not runaways and they're not illegal. The reason that there's so many people being processed is you step up here, you wait in line, you get your information taken, we'll give you a card. Now you get $2,200 a month. Plus you get your phone, plus you get some health care, plus you get housing, plus you get vouchers. All four of my grandparents were immigrants.
Yeah.
All four of my, and I have nothing against it, all right? But when you're rolling in, if they're saying 12, 14 million, think that's the population of Chicago and DuPage County. We can't afford it.
It's more,
if we could afford it, it's not good for the culture. I would say 2025.
Thanks for the call, John. Yeah, well, it's the size of the population of New York State. But anyway, so on the other thing too, and this was brought up in a committee hearing yesterday. I mean, the drug trafficking, the human trafficking, all these parolees, then you're eligible for a work visa for up to 2 years too. And
Sounds like a great gig if you can get it.
and you want to talk about the and by the way, DeSantis was talking about going after remittances on the campaign trail. Is talking about it. That's one aspect. But you understand, I mean, if Biden wanted to do that with AMLO, he can, he should. He's not he won't. He's not. And as we talked about earlier in the week, AMLO is demanding unbelievable concessions with an offer of generically helping to slow the tide of migrants making their way through Mexico to our southern border. I mean, the $20 billion, and you're going to make 10 million Hispanics in this country, Latinos in this country, legal, and all these sort of concessions. So what does that tell you about what AMLO thinks the relationship is between him and Biden? Who has who over a barrel, do they think? So what does that say about what Biden is purposefully doing? If the Mexican president can figure it out, how can some Republican members of Congress? By the way, in terms of how serious these people are, compromise, bipartisan compromise, get together around a table and hash out, roll up your sleeves and all this other silliness. Listen to this clown, Maxwell Frost. He's a Democrat congressman from Orlando area, from Florida.
To my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, let's be honest with immigrants who deserve better than what you're offering them. Don't welcome immigrants if you plan to reject them. If you keep pushing your bigoted H.R. 2 bill, then also pass this bill. I've taken the liberty of drafting it for you. It removes the Statue of Liberty, our largest symbol that tells people to come here. This is who you are, removing the fabric of America. So I want to know which Republican who supports and voted for H.R. 2 will introduce this bill.
You see what you're dealing with?
An absolute tool.
If you don't support open borders, then you might. Number one, you're a racist, and number two, we might as well just remove the Statue of Liberty. And you're supposed to achieve some sort of a reasonable middle ground with somebody like Maxwell Frost. Give me a break.
I just won't forget what Jerry Nadler said last week. We need immigrants because our birthing rates are low. Well, do you want to know why our birthing rates are low? I mean, they've been low, down 23% from 2007 to 2022? Because you, the Democrats, told people not to have multiple children. I mean, we didn't have a one-child policy, obviously, like China. But remember, they kept saying to us, don't have too many children because of the climate. save the environment.
Remember how they supported the abortion of 65 million children since Roe?
That too. Thank you, Dan.
Corey and Woodlawn.
Good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. I'm 1,000,000% against the way this wave is coming into the country. I'm not for it at all. I moonlight as a realtor on the weekend for over 20 years, and I was trying to sell a house in Park Forest. The property was only worth $45,000. The taxes were $10,000 on this specific piece of property. How much is this property worth if a giant housing migrant building is behind your home? These people are robbing you of your wealth in front of your face to just satisfy their donors. This is ridiculous.
Thanks for the call, Corey. Absolutely.
$45,000 home and your property taxes are $10,000.
That home is worth nothing.
Yeah, I know. My friend had a home there too. His mom passed away when he just turned in the keys.
Just
Just sent
destroy
it back. Like, I can't
Right.
sell it. It's not even worth it. Done with it.
Destroy. I mean, I don't know how many times we have to have the conversation about that. Yeah, absolutely. Chicago Democrats, black, white, Latino, and all of them destroyed majority minority communities throughout Chicago Southland.
Oh, it's
Decimated.
I mean, go down there and see it for yourself, folks. It is bad.
And they just pile on
Unbelievable.
because they still have that loyal constituency. Just remarkable. Ralph and Rantoul.
Yeah, good morning. Remember, a cultural Marxist is still a Marxist. So this 5,000 number is not some magical pull out of the hat number. Biden and the Democrats are getting sensitive a little bit to the fact that people are very upset about these outrageous, out of control, illegal immigrant numbers. 12, 14,000 a day. So this 5,000 number a day, the Biden administration recently went down to Mexico and had this secret powwow with AMLO and his narco crew. And the 5,000 number is kind of this, well, we think we can, Mexico's saying, we think we can stem the flow a little bit. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to artificially restrict the flow, put all these people in transport inside Mexico. They're putting essentially illegal immigrant camps, holding facilities in Tapachula, Mexico, where it's a buffer, okay? They're just buffering them there. The intent is to artificially demonstrate the slowing of the flow to this ridiculous number, which is still too high because 5,000 illegal immigrants a day is 5,000 illegal immigrants too many. And once the Democrats are able to lull and fake the moron Americans who aren't paying attention that Biden and his corrupt crew are actually making systemic border changes, which they are not, then that flow, the gates are going to be open, and all of those buffer centers in Tapachula, Mexico, are just going to redirect all of that back north, assuming that the Democrats can fool enough people and steal another election. Todd Bensman from the Center for Immigrant Studies, CIS, has documented this. There's boots on the ground watching the people in Mexico working this policy out. And Langford is just another Oklahoma useful idiot working with the corrupt likes of Schumer, who we already know is a corrupt fool, to deceive people because all the Democrats care about is winning the next election through deception, lies, theft, whatever it takes. It's about power. This is not about money. It's not about budget. It's.
Thanks for the call, Ralph. Well, here's the thing about that too. Even if Obrador was on the up and up, and I'm not disputing what Ralph was describing, but even just taking that, setting that aside, he's going to make a good faith effort. This is what he called for, again, just to repeat, in a press conference, he publicly approve a plan that deploys $20 billion to Latin America and Caribbean countries, suspend the U.S. blockade of Cuba, remove all sanctions against Venezuela, grant at least 10 million Hispanics living in the United States the right to remain and work legally. That's in exchange for a good faith effort, which, as Ralph from Rantoul was pointing out, you're not going to get. But even if you were going to get it, it's a ridiculous deal. And AMLO thinks he can make it. What does that tell you about what he knows about the Biden administration? All right, coming up at 7:07, it's School Choice Week nationally, not so much here in Illinois. Anyway, we're going to talk to Ian Rowe from the Woodson Center, also a practitioner. He did operate charter schools in the Bronx. We'll talk to him at 7:07.
Today, mostly cloudy and cold. Some slow travel, a high of 23 degrees at 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Targeting Iran and the militants it supports. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The U.S. and Pakistan have done that. The American military strikes targeted Houthi militants in Yemen for the fourth time in a week.
Launched from U.S. ships and submarines in the Red Sea, the missiles targeted more than a dozen sites in Yemen, according to Pentagon sources. Only hours after a drone attacked and started a fire aboard a U.S.-owned and operated vessel in the Gulf of Aden off Yemen's southwestern coastline. Earlier in the day, the Biden administration labeled the Houthis as a specially designated terrorist group.
That's Fox's Jack Callahan. Pakistan launched airstrikes in Iran, retaliating for Iran's attacks as both countries target militant groups. Iran state TV claims Pakistan's assault killed 7 women and children. We'll get a new report today on the 2022 school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, after a Justice Department review of law enforcement's slow response.
A panel of Texas lawmakers also found that nearly 400 officers responded to the school shooting, though they waited over an hour to confront the attacker. 19 students and 2 teachers were killed. At least 5 officers have lost their jobs.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. Former President Trump will not be in court today in New York, instead going to his mother-in-law's funeral. The day after the judge at his civil defamation trial threatened to remove the former president for muttering witch hunt and disgrace during testimony. In New Hampshire last night, the former president said,
Nikki Haley is counting on Democrats to think of that. She's well. They want to run against her. They're putting a lot of Democrats because they don't want to run against me.
Well, Haley's second in the polls 5 days before the Republican primary, dismissing Ron DeSantis as a non-factor.
He's closer to 0 than he is to me in either of these states.
DeSantis fires back, telling Fox
she cannot beat Donald Trump in New Hampshire. And she definitely can't beat him in her home state of South Carolina.
DeSantis will still campaign this weekend in New Hampshire, but has shifted more resources to South Carolina. That primary is next month. America's listening to Fox News.
19 degrees, cloudy skies, 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Fire damaging 2 homes in the West Englewood neighborhood overnight. A woman rushed to the hospital from that scene. Thousands of migrant students are now enrolled in the Chicago public schools. Teachers complain they need more resources to help deal with the influx of new students.
We have needs, and these needs will not be met alone by the district or by the city.
Chicago Teachers Union President Stacey Davis Gates and the American Federation of Teachers head Randy Weingarten demanded federal taxpayers cough up more federal dollars.
What the city is telling you, the city council in particular, we ain't got it.
In other news we're following this morning, the White Sox are in talks about building a new stadium. Sun-Times says the team is negotiating with developer Related Midwest about the possibility of building a new ballpark on a South Loop parcel known as the 78. The Illinois primary election is still 2 months away, but it seems there are already 7 winners to announce. 7 people running for judge in Cook County have been appointed to the bench, in part because they were unopposed on the ballot. ABC 7's Chuck Gowdy was first to report. There are currently 43 vacancies on the Circuit Court of Cook County. Gowdy reports that the 7 will be on the bench in early February. Chicago sports. Bulls look to get back in the win column when they visit Toronto tonight. The Blackhawks game last night was pushed back because of heavy snow. The game tonight will get underway at about 6. Northwestern went ahead late and held on to beat Maryland 72-69 in Big Ten hoops. The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. The experts at Turnkey know small business. This is the year to accomplish your business resolutions. Achieve more in 2024 with the help of Turnkey Managed IT, Marketing, and Business Consulting. Visit Turnkey.pro today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher looks ahead at 2024.
Are you ready? Are you buckled in?
Are you bracing yourself? We're going to need each other. We're sort of in this split between establishment Republicans and Republicans who have pivoted into a more populist, America First outlook. And that, to me, is what the whole year is going to be about.
The Mike Gallagher Show. Weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
I wish I could get this stupid jar open.
Jars can be tough, am I right?
Who are you? And how'd you get in my kitchen?
It's me, Flo, and I'm here to grant your wish of easily switching to Progressive and helping you get a discount that honors the time spent with your previous insurer.
Great, but what does that have to do with getting this jar open?
Nothing.
So you can't open this?
Oh, I just do insurance. Jars, I leave to the professionals.
Sign up for Progressive and opt into more savings. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
My son was saying, Mom, why are you paying so much for this? The supplement store has the exact same thing. And I said, no, they don't. You know, because he was telling me that they have similar products as Balance of Nature. But then when he came over to my house and he looked at the label of the Balance of Nature about all the, ingredients and everything, he realized, oh yeah, this is a superior product.
Step into the new year with a new you. Start your journey to better health by calling 1-800-246-8751. or by going to balanceofnature.com and signing up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:07. Get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. In Volo, an accident. Fisher and Darrell. Wooddale, report of an accident. Wooddale Road and Irving Park. I-65 in northwest Indiana. Near US 30 on the northbound side, an accident blocking a right-hand lane. Route 53, report of an accident. Northbound on 53 just after Biesterfield. DuSable Lakeshore Drive remains shut down. Southbound between North Avenue and Chicago, traffic diverted off at North Avenue and has been for a couple of hours. 394 northbound between Steger to right before US 30, big delay due to an accident. And we're eyeballing the Dan Ryan for you right now, inbound at 30 minutes and climbing 95th into the Burns Circle. It's 7:08, time to call Permaseal at 800-421-SEAL. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast from the QC Kinetics Weather Center. Here's Steve Williams.
A winter weather advisory in effect this evening. Clouds and cold today. The high 23. Some snow tonight, 1 to 2 inches, and a low of 10. Snow around tomorrow morning, maybe another inch. The high tomorrow at 12. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
19 at O'Hare, 21 at Midway, 18 in Aurora. Your next news update, 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Listening to that weather forecast. Did you see that video of the steam devil?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
That's
it was
cool.
so cold out that the whole, all of Lake Michigan and the river, there was just steam rolling off of it. Very sinister.
It's vapor swirling above the water, this sort of natural phenomenon that I guess is relatively rare, called the steam devil.
Oh, I love a steam devil. That could be Scott Kirby's new drag name, Steam Devil.
I like it. I was going to say that phrase has a lot of applications we'll have to get to perhaps later on in the show. Maybe Open Mic Friday tomorrow.
Yes.
Chicago Steam Devil.
And I'll bring you a story, too, tomorrow.
What that conjures up. All right, we'll look forward to your relationship with the Kirbys. It is National School Choice Week. And
what's Stacey Davis Gates doing to celebrate it?
She's celebrating killing the tax credit scholarship program in Illinois.
While she sends her son to a private school.
The National School Choice Awareness Foundation released some recent survey results. 72% of parents said this is a national survey. 72% of parents surveyed said they'd considered new schools in the last year. That's up from 52% just a couple of years ago. So demand for school choice is surging, as we sort of knew, but this quantifies it. In 2023, 20 states expanded school choice, and, of course, Illinois killed their school choice program. 2/3 of parents, 64% of parents say they wish they had more information about education options for their children. Only 29% of parents surveyed, fewer than 1 in 3, said the same type of school works well for all the children in their home. So there's where the union members came down, probably. That's their representation in the survey. So school choice is the new norm, is the point. And programs that are existing are expanding, except in Illinois. And there's impetus for more school choice offerings in states that don't have them because of the success that states that do have them are enjoying, and parents talk about it, and word gets around. And, very interesting, too, in this election year, as we've talked about a couple times now, the 4 key swing states, now maybe the map expands, but starting this cycle, we were looking at Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Arizona. In all those states, school choice is a big issue at the local level, and it may make for amplifying school choice as a national issue in a way that it hasn't in previous federal elections, because Katie Hobbs is attacking the school choice program in Arizona. Roy Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, has been an impediment to expanding school choice there. Brian Kemp is trying to expand school choice. And in Wisconsin, even though they have a Dem governor who's a teachers union flack, they don't want to touch it. Too popular. Dems in Wisconsin aren't touching it. Very interesting times. For more on this, in celebration of this School Choice Week, we're pleased to be joined by Ian Rowe. Again, Ian Rowe is founder of the Vertex Partnership Academies, which is a network of character-based international baccalaureate high schools in the Bronx. Senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and at the Woodson Center. He's also the author of the book Agency, and he's coming to town this coming Monday, so Monday, January 22nd, this Monday, 6:30 p.m., and he'll be at Loyola Academy in Wilmette. That's an event sponsored by Nutria Neighbors. You can get information, sign up, register for tickets and all that stuff. NutriaNeighbors.org, and there's an Eventbrite page for the event as well. So Monday, 6:30 p.m., Loyola Academy in Wilmette. We'll talk a little bit more about Loyola later, too. Big news, Loyola Academy in Wilmette. But anyway, now we talk to Ian Rowe. Ian, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
So great to hear you. I always seem to come on your show when more madness is happening in Chicago and Illinois.
Well,
it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah, it's a permanent condition. Yeah. So
while the rest of the country is advancing, creating more opportunities for school choice to create great opportunities for kids, especially low-income kids, somehow Illinois and Chicago are going in reverse.
Well, let's get your perspective on this too, because you're not just a theoretician or a policy guy. You're also a practitioner with the charter schools you have in the Bronx that you started. So if you were a private school or charter school operator in Chicago or in Illinois, against the backdrop of the tax credit scholarship program being repealed and school choice retreating in this state, what would you do? What advice do you have for your colleagues in Chicago and Illinois?
Yeah. So as you say, I'm not just a theoretical. I'm a practitioner. I've run public charter schools in the heart of the South Bronx since 2010. I now run, as you said, International Baccalaureate High School. And we faced a very similar challenge back in 2013, after Mayor Bloomberg had really opened the doors to create more school choice. Because of his initiatives, we had something close to 250 charter schools open in New York City. It was really incredible. But when the mayor, Bill de Blasio, was campaigning, he said basically he was going to shut down choice. He was going to take away the right of public school students in charter schools to be in public school space. He was going to take away that right by charging charter schools money, and it was really an existential threat to the sector. And so the challenge you're facing now in Chicago and Illinois, what are we going to do in the face of elected officials trying to strip away options for the most vulnerable population? What we decided to do was we had to mobilize parents. In October of 2013, we mobilized nearly 13,000 family members to march across the Brooklyn Bridge. It was almost all exclusively low-income Black and Hispanic families who were saying, and by the way, generally parents who would typically support someone like a Bill de Blasio, Democratic mayor, but they said, don't do this. All we want is a shot for our kids. Whatever structural barriers we may have faced, these schools are providing the promise to our kids in communities where the normal schools, the traditional district schools, have single-digit proficiency rates. So it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, because the elected officials can't say no to actual parents. The ones that these guys are like, we stand for the poor, we stand for the, blah, 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 and yet they're shutting down the singular opportunity that drives opportunity in our country. So we did that. We had 13,000 family members march across the Brooklyn Bridge. And even in the face of that, candidate de Blasio said, no, I'm still going to move forward with my plan. He went forward, and when he actually won, we then took 11,000 family members to Albany in 7-degree weather to petition the state. And that's when we gained the power. Where in New York State at that time, the governor, Cuomo at the time, said, you know what, I am with you. And so the state legislature negated this idea that the city could basically kick charter schools out of public school space, and actually even created a subsidy so that if a charter school were growing, it could get public dollars to subsidize private space if real estate were a constraint. So that's something I would certainly look to do, and I'd certainly love to help. Mobilizing parents, because the one thing these elected officials can't do is look a parent in the eye, a 22-year-old mom who may have a 5-year-old kid, whatever decisions she may have made in her own life, the singular thing she wants to do is create opportunity for her child. And if historically the school in her district has only had 12% of kids reading at grade level, I want that elected official to look in the face of thousands of those faces, primarily low-income Black and Hispanic families, and tell them that I'm going to restrict your opportunity. And by the way, meanwhile, my kid is going to go to the good private school or public school in my neighborhood. That's the hypocrisy that we have to challenge.
But a lot of Illinoisans, they go along to get along. So, this is like David versus Goliath. How are you going to really motivate them to mobilize?
Convince parents that they're actually the Goliath in this situation. What we said to our parents was that you actually have the power. Don't give away your power. When you come together and have a collective voice, you are unstoppable. And when we tell that to people who, by the way, feel pretty powerless in a system where they constantly feel like everything is rigged against them, here we're saying, no, we're with you. Come with us. Let's mobilize. It was incredible. I just saw this story from WirePoint. And by the way, WirePoint is like an Illinois treasure. I can't wait to be there on Monday and talk to Ted Dabrowski. They just produce such incredibly important information about Chicago and Illinois schools. But I just saw this story. In the name of equity, Chicago looks to close schools with top-performing Black and Hispanic students. Somehow they want to move away from school choice. These are magnet schools where 70 to 80 to 90% plus of Black and Hispanic students are performing math and reading at the highest level. And somehow in this scheme, those schools would be shut down. That's what we got to go to those parents and say, there are people that want to take this away from you. And we found that to be a highly effective strategy to get parents to realize what's under threat.
There's something else I wonder, get your reaction to. So way back when, there was a state senator named James Meeks, who was a pastor of a mega church on the South Side. And, there was a public school funding fight and equity and public school funding. The New Trier spends X on the North Shore and the South Side high schools spend Y, and we need to close that gap. So he bussed a bunch of Black kids, families up to New Trier to make the point, sort of a public spectacle type of thing. Now, that was just, fighting over public dollars and the distribution. It wasn't system change, which is what we're talking about here. But I wonder if he maybe have been onto something. And by that I mean, yes, activating the families, yes, telling the stories about them and their children and their prospects and the success they're having, and don't take their scholarships away. And we did a terrible job of that in Illinois. Did a terrible job. We allowed the politicians to beat people up in a back alley. Oh, yeah, send them 3 hours south of Chicago to Springfield, and that really put the pressure on them. The pressure has to happen in the media market. The pressure has to happen here. But it can't just be disproportionately minority families that are the beneficiaries, although they need to be the lead, and the kids in particular. But also, you're going to be on the North Shore on Monday night. And, one of the challenges to these rich honkies in leftist rich enclaves like Wilmette and Winnetka and Glencoe and Highland Park and in the western burbs around here, I won't rattle them off, and near West burbs, is to say, what are you doing? For somebody like you to say, what are you doing? You listen to a race hustling ignoramus like Al Sharpton, these shakedown artists, and you think that's representative of the Black community and politicians in the Latino community that do the same thing? You think you're doing something positive? We need like the Bob Woodsons and the Shelby Steeles and the Ian Rose and all the intellectual heft of pro-school choice, Black leaders, academics, intellectuals, Glenn Lowry and John McWhorter and so many more, to say, who the hell do you think you are? You're listening to the wrong people. And let me tell you something. If you don't get on board for providing the same options for families on the south and west sides of the city or in middle and working income suburbs that you have, then we're going to have a problem with you. So you like to just, walk away and, hope nobody sees you and just act out of convenience. No, we're coming for you, and we're going to make a spectacle out of you. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm coming to Loyola on Monday. No, this is the whole point. And again, the names you just listed off are my heroes: Shelby Steele, Bob Woodson, Glenn Lowry. I love them all. They are an inspiration to me. The thing about me is I run schools too.
Exactly.
I know what this means to people, particularly low-income people. We are the only shot for their kids. I know that. I see it every single day in the Bronx. So when I see stories about, Chicago wants to close the top performing schools, it's like this idiotic ideology. If everyone can have it, then no one can.
Exactly.
No one can have it. If you're talking about systemic discrimination, systemic bias, That's what it is. And so we just need to speak truth. And I cannot underscore enough, we got to get more families, and by the way, of all races, to take on this fight. The hypocritical, virtue signaling, more progressive ideology, all that stuff is nonsense, and it's ultimately harmful to kids. So I try to, come to these audiences and say, whatever you've been listening to, here is the real impact on children. I run schools in a district in which only 7% of kids graduate from high school ready for college. That means when, the 2,000 or so kids in District 12 that started ninth grade in 2015, 4 years later, only 7% graduate from high school ready for college. That means they when they started ninth grade, they dropped out somewhere along the way, or they actually did earn their high school diploma, but still could not do math nor reading without remediation if they were to go to college. That is a crime, but that is the reality. And when you sentence kids to have to go to those schools because you're removing school choice, that is as perniciously racist, discriminatory as whatever claims that you think you're generally making in your more virtue signaling mode.
Well, the other thing, since you're going to be up on the North Shore, is to tell them to bring in the Woodson Black History and Character curriculum at New Trier and everywhere else. Profile that for the honky high schools like New Trier too. I mean, right.
The reason I love people like Bob Woodson, who it's not just about talk; it's about action. When the New York Times 1619 Project put out their drivel about America as a permanently racist society, blah blah blah. We wrote essays against that, but we also said, let's create a curriculum, an empowering alternative, and that's what we did. And this curriculum, it's free of charge. It's now been downloaded, I think, 140,000 times by teachers in all 50 states who are looking for inspiring stories that tell the more complete telling of the African American experience in the United States. And it's not only for Black History Month. It's storytelling, universal stories of triumph over adversity, integrity, agency, courage, stories that would be inspiring to any kid of any race. That's what we mean. We who are trying to put forth empowering alternatives, we have to mobilize those who think that they're doing the right thing, who think listening to Al Sharpton is the right thing to do. It's not. There are those of us who are running schools who see the impact every day of giving parents the power to choose a great school for their kids.
He is Ian Rowe, running schools, not running his mouth like so many others. He is the founder of Vertex Partnership Academies, a network of character-based international baccalaureate high schools in the Bronx, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and at the Woodson Center. His book is entitled Agency. Pick it up and go see him this coming Monday, January 22nd, Loyola Academy at the McGrath Family Performing Arts Center, 6:30 p.m., NewTrierNeighbors.org for information to get tickets to the event on Monday at 6:30 at Loyola Academy. Ian Rowe, thanks as always for joining us. Don't be meek on the North Shore on Monday. Bring the artillery on Monday, all right?
Bring the heat. Bring the heat. Yeah.
Bring the heat.
Yes.
Ian Rowe, thank you.
Beauty is I'm not alone. There are millions of parents who simply want a shot for their kids. I always take that with me.
Thank you so much. And he joined us, have a great event, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Former President Trump logged a blowout win in Iowa, the first contest of the GOP primary contest for presidency in 2024. And with it, we got continued cries from elite media outlets. Tyranny approaches. Despotism is just off stage. Guillotines are being sharpened. Well, no one actually said that guillotines are being sharpened, but that specific red light warning may have simply not made it past the editors of the river of op-eds warning about the return of Donald Trump, appearing in recent weeks in the New York Times, the Washington Post, or the entire issue of The Atlantic. The hysteria would be amusing. Indeed, it's already amusing to some if it weren't both predictable and boring. If anyone genuinely believes that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, they've either drunk the Kool-Aid or they spilled it on their copies of the Constitution. That is a silly alarm, one that should be laughed at, not indulged. The Constitution is very strong. Pay no attention to the media-empowered alarmists.
Well, I've been taking it for some time. We saw the ad, and we thought we would give it a try. And I noticed after the first month, we just felt better. I told my doctor, too, and she said, this sounds like a really good product for you to be taking. We plan to take it for life.
I ran this by my doctor. I always run it by her, everything I take, and I told her I've been taking this for a while. Is this okay to take? She goes, oh, this is wonderful for you to take. Keep taking it. She goes, I approve this. This is very good. So she said, yes. She said, this is one thing you can take that's very good. I'm not going to stop taking out into nature.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I mean, I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow. And I just appreciate, I'm impressed. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Honey, I am like a different woman. I mean, finally one day I kept seeing that commercial, and I said, what the heck? What do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code Prager.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, Amber Duke, nay Athey, Spectator's Washington editor, on the women who want to be Trump's VP. That's 7:37.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
19 degrees, cloudy skies at 7:32. We're hearing that DuSable Lakeshore Drive this morning finally has been reopened on the south side between North Avenue and Chicago, where they have been dealing with a bad accident with a critical injury for the last 2.5 hours. Again, we'll confirm that between now and when we get through our traffic report a little later on in this newscast. But for now, we're hearing that DuSable Lakeshore Drive on the southbound side is finally reopened this morning. Several Democrats are joining House Republicans in denouncing President Biden's border policies. A GOP resolution passed in the House Wednesday with full Republican support, urging the president to end his administration's open border policies. Tensions escalating again today in the Middle East. More missiles are flying, as Fox's Lucas Tomlinson explains.
It's getting noisy in the Middle East and South Asia, with Pakistan launching airstrikes just over its border into Iran in an apparent tit-for-tat strike after Iran launched surprise strikes inside Pakistan a day earlier. Iran also launched ballistic missiles into northern Iraq and Syria earlier this week. The U.S. military also launching more strikes into Yemen yesterday to destroy missile launchers U.S. Central Command says were poised to strike again after those two U.S.-owned cargo ships were hit in the Red Sea. Tomahawk cruise missiles were fired from at least one warship and a submarine. Yemen is the third country where the Biden administration has launched strikes against Iran's proxy groups since Hamas launched its October 7th massacre.
Texas authorities have started arresting migrants and charging them with criminal trespass. Wednesday night marked the first time the policy was enacted after the state took control of Shelby Park in Eagle Pass, Texas. Florida Republican Marco Rubio, the senator, recently announcing he's endorsing former president and GOP presidential frontrunner Donald Trump for the GOP nomination. Authorities say a power line fell on a car in Portland, Oregon, killing 3 and injuring a baby in an ice storm that turned mountain roads treacherous. Fire damaged 2 homes in the West Englewood neighborhood overnight. A woman rushed to the hospital from that scene. A Texas transportation company is suing Chicago over restrictions on buses carrying migrants. Wind Transportation filed that suit earlier this month, accusing the city of violating federal and state law with its restrictions. A man who was found trapped in a vehicle that crashed last month near Portage, Indiana, is finally out of the hospital. Matt Room was rescued after being located by 2 fishermen on December 26 inside of a crashed vehicle right along I-94 at the Salt Creek overpass. He had been trapped in that vehicle for nearly a week. Chicago sports. Bulls take on the Raptors tonight. Blackhawks battle Buffalo after being snowed out yesterday. Northwestern, a Big Ten hoops win, 72-69 over Maryland. The news is a service of Turnkey.pro. Turnkey knows small business. Reduce your cost. Find new revenue streams. Grow your team. Do more in 2024 with the help of Turnkey. Managed IT and marketing and business consulting. Visit Turnkey.pro today. Turnkey.pro. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka is getting prepped for a fight.
Are you ready for 2024? Are you ready for what the left is going to sling at those who love America? Let's make sure that whatever the crazies, those who hate America, throw at us, that we are ready and we are braced for the onslaught.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here. And if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity.
And paid for by America First Tax Group. Attention, if you or your business is behind in filing your tax returns, or if you owe over $10,000 in back taxes to the IRS, please listen carefully. The IRS does not joke around and will not stop their collection efforts. If you're tired of the IRS letters, levies, liens, or wage garnishments and would like to get a fresh start, we can help. Due to the financial hardships in the country, the IRS is making it easier than ever to settle tax problems for those who owe more than $10,000. We can help settle your delinquent tax problems, end all collections, and may even reduce your back taxes significantly. Even if you can't afford to pay your back taxes, you can still get the help you need. We've helped thousands of taxpayers just like you, but you must call 800-852-3467 today to stop your tax problem from getting worse. The information is free and the help is real. Call 800-852-3467. That's 800-852-3467. Again, 800-852-3467.
Do you know that high blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality? In fact, 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure. That's a 50-50 chance you're a walking time bomb. But you, not Big Pharma, can take control of your blood pressure before it's too late with my friends at 120 Life. 120 Life is a blend of great-tasting superfruit juices that actually help lower your blood pressure. It's formulated with ingredients that have been shown to naturally control high blood pressure and are endorsed by thousands of health professionals. You can try it for yourself risk-free with their 2-week trial pack. Go to 120life.com and use the code NEWYEAR to save 20% and receive free shipping. They are so sure that 120 Life can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks that they'll give you your money back if you're not satisfied. So you have nothing to lose but those high blood pressure numbers. Order now at 120life.com and remember to use coupon code NEWYEAR to save 20%. This is serious. It's your life we're talking about here. So hurry up. The offer ends January 31st.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It appears southbound Lakeshore Drive finally reopened this morning. It had been shut down for several hours between North Avenue and Chicago, and traffic diverted off. It'll be a while, however, on southbound Lakeshore Drive before it returns to normal. On the expressways this morning, we'll start on the Edens, 34 in from Lake Cook Road to the junction. Right now, an hour and 15 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now running at an hour and 21 from 390 into the old post office. Stevenson this morning is an hour 8 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Slow and go on the Dan Ryan 34 into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, cloudy and cold, snow showers throughout the morning, high 23. More snow overnight, 1 to 2 inches. And a low of 10. 19 at O'Hare, 21 at Midway, 22 in Kankakee. In Romeoville, it's 19 and 20 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Fresh off of the big guy speeches at Valley Forge a week ago Friday, and then Charleston last week. Kamala Harris, Reparation H, that is. And the Eva Perón of East Lansing, Gretchen Whitmer, have been dispatched to continue flogging Trump supporters.
Right. Demonizing Trump supporters.
Trump supporters. Kamala Harris talking to fellow man-hating shrews on The View yesterday.
And what are you going to do to stop the crazies? I am scared as heck.
Play scared.
Which is why I'm traveling our country. You know, there's an old saying that there are only two ways to run for office. Either without an opponent or scared. So on all of those points, yes, we should all be scared.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But as we know, and certainly this is a table of very powerful women.
Very powerful.
We don't run away from something when we're scared. We fight back against it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
The seals clap. Eva Perón of East Lansing, on with that blonde bombshell, Joy Reid.
Oh, that's right.
Donald Trump still has a grip on the Republican Party. He and his MAGA extremists are the standard bearers for today's Republican Party. And it's not reflective of who we are as a nation. It's not reflective of where we need to be headed as a country as we think about our standing globally.
Mm-hmm. Get used to that. You're going to hear
a lot of it.
That and nothing but that from now until November. The only possible addition will be if they're able to get one of these corrupt federal and state prosecutors to get one of the cases they've brought to the studio audience in The View, masquerading as juries in Atlanta and D.C. and Manhattan, get a conviction, and then they'll add convicted felon to the litany of abuses. But it's always going to be MAGA and MAGA extremists. It's always going to be Trump and the crazies, because this is about annihilation of dissent. That's what this campaign is about. We'll develop that more perhaps a bit later, but this is so much more than just about this is the path that Biden has to pursue because it's the only path available to him, and it's high risk, say the pundits, and so on and so forth. Completely missing it, in my view. For more on all this, please be joined by Amber Duke, née Athey. Oh, somebody got married. She is the Spectator's Washington editor. She's also the author of the book, The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Amber, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good to be back.
Congratulations on your marriage, I guess, right? I didn't get an invite.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
Dan
yeah,
loves
I know. It
weddings,
must have got lost in the mail.
Yes, precisely. Well, let me know where you're registered. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Trump before we talk about the response from Team Biden. You had an interesting piece about the Veeps, the potential Veeps, at least the potential female Veeps. Of course, Trump has said that he's made his selection already, and there's rumors going in a lot of different directions, understandably and desirably. That was, I think, the point. But some of the women you think are on the short list, and if you have any particular perspective on who you think, if it is one of them, it would be.
Right. So some of the names that have been floated around over the past, honestly, couple of years include Carrie Lake, who's running for Arizona governor, Elise Stefanik, who is the House Conference Chair that replaced defector Liz Cheney. There's Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas. Some people have mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene. But actually, there's an article that came out yesterday at NBC News that claims that Trump is seriously considering Elise Stefanik and has been raving privately about her loyalty. Now, I think loyalty would be part of the pick for him, but I think the other part of it is that Trump kind of needs the Pence effect, which is he needs a little bit of a moderating factor, but still someone who's very conservative. You kind of want to marry the America First ideology with a more traditional politician, which is where I think someone like Elise Stefanik or Sarah Huckabee Sanders would check both of those boxes.
What about Kristi Noem, governor of South Dakota?
That's right. I can't believe I didn't mention her. She is another one that has been rumored, in especially in recent days, to be in the running, especially in the top 3 or 4. She campaigned with Trump on the trail in Iowa when Kim Reynolds, the actual Iowa governor, had decided to endorse DeSantis. So she has definitely passed the loyalty test. I will say that there are a few members of Trump's base that are a little skeptical of Kristi Noem because she had vetoed that bill a couple of years back that would have banned biological men from competing in women's sports. And her explanation for it was very unsatisfying. She essentially said that the NCAA would pull tournaments from South Dakota, and so there was an economic consideration involved. So I do think if he chooses her, that she might have to work a little bit to earn some trust back.
Yeah, the Sarah Huckabee Sanders, it's interesting. She hasn't gotten as much chatter as you might expect, considering she was his spokesperson, and then, of course, now the governor of Arkansas, so she's in an executive position, too, and she's amassing a good conservative reform record. And it maybe has a little bit more gravitas. I mean, I know Stefanik's smart, but she's, definitely on the younger side. I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders isn't that much older, but, I think Stefanik's like 40. And I think there is something to this suggestion that the VP matters for Trump, who would be over 80 if he at the end of a term if he's elected, and who's waiting in the wings next. And I'm not sure the people would be as comfortable with Stefanik saying that's a future president as maybe they would be Sanders.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. That's why I think Sanders is maybe a little bit more of a dark horse in this race, in this competition to be Trump's beat. I agree. Stefanik is quite young. I think she still has a lot to prove. And vice president is not really the position to do that. That's kind of where you go after you've sort of captured all of your accolades. The other benefit to Sarah Sanders, of course, is that she's worked in a White House administration. She knows how things run. She knows as well the depths of depravity that, frankly, the media and the Democrats will go to discredit Republicans, specifically Donald Trump. She's been in that environment. She's battle-tested. So I think she would be much more prepared for that role than maybe Elise Stefanik.
Well,
but Elise Stefanik, of course, had this viral moment recently, right, in Congress, where she was grilling these university presidents and ended up getting two of them to resign.
Yeah, but I mean, but thinking back about Pence and the comparison, contrast, and styles. So I mean, Huckabee Sanders is also very room temperature, and which I think is a good thing, particularly in contrast to Trump. And so you're not going to get the rhetorical excesses from Sarah Sanders, in part because of the battle testing she had before the D.C. press corps as spokesman. You're not going to get the same, maybe rhetorical excesses, sort of the Trumpian rhetoric from her that you get maybe from a Carrie Lake and to some extent from a Stefanik.
Yeah, I think that's true. She's on message 100%. And one of the benefits of Pence that you alluded to is that he was sort of able to let Trump have his moment. He was more than happy to kind of be in the background and go out and speak to certain voting groups when it made sense. And he was able to go out and sell the president's message in a way that maybe was more palatable to people who are not diehard MAGA people. And I think Sarah Sanders could do that. Look, I covered the White House when she was press secretary for a few months, and she's a very impressive woman. Yeah. She knows how to handle that podium. I have no doubt that she would do an equally impressive job on the campaign trail.
What about, deep down in my heart, I still think that he's going to choose Nikki Haley.
No.
I don't think that's happening, no. So I think a month ago you might have been right, but things have changed a lot since then. First of all, she's attacking Trump way more aggressively than she did at the beginning of her campaign. And Trump's been attacking her, right? Which doesn't always mean everything, because he is, of course, more than happy to accept endorsements from people that he's attacked in the past. But his son, Donald Trump Jr., I think kind of put the nail in the coffin when the rumor was floating that Nikki Haley would be chosen. People, of course, were very upset by this because she's very neoconservative. And Donald Trump Jr. said, don't worry, I'm going to make sure that it's not her. And so I think that was it. Trump is a lot of things. I don't think that he would openly and publicly basically backstab his son like that and make him look like an idiot.
What do you so going back to the fear-mongering that is being pitched by Team Biden, that the MAGA dictatorship or save our democracy, that's the choice in November. How do you think that plays for the audience that they're seeking?
I think what they're trying to do there is they're trying to get the sort of neurotic wine mom or wine aunt that maybe is a little less than pleased with Trump's rhetoric and maybe is even a little bit scared by him, and they're going to play into that. But this is also what you do when you don't have any accomplishments to run on, right? This is a strategy that is all about ad hominem as opposed to actually dealing with the policy differences that made the country a much better place when Trump was in office just a few short years ago. And this strategy was first rolled out by the media actually a few weeks ago. You had The Atlantic, The Washington Post, The New York Times all running these feature articles claiming that Trump's second term was going to be more radical than ever, that he was going to be a dictator. There was a New Yorker cover that showed him basically in Nazi regalia doing a little Hitler march. And now there's reports that people on the Biden campaign, as well as outside Democratic strategists, are trying to get Biden to go even further in his comparisons of Trump to Hitler. They want him to not just compare the rhetoric, but to compare Trump himself. So I would expect that this is only going to get nastier and darker the closer Trump gets to the nomination.
She is Amber Duke, the Spectator's Washington editor. She's the author of the book, The Snowflakes Revolt, How Woke Millennials Hijacked American Media. Amber, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Imagine what your future looks like. Is the picture a little blurry? Hey, it's Sean Thompson here for Alpha Wealth Group. When we look ahead, we're visualizing where we want to be, and for retirement, that can be hard without a written financial plan. Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help you bring your retirement picture into focus. For decades, Tom has been crafting customized financial strategies. His goal is to help you protect your savings, grow your wealth, and create an income strategy you cannot outlive. If you're nearing or already in retirement, it's time to get your plan on paper. So bring your readers and let's take a look at it closely. Call Tom at 630-934-1855 and schedule a complimentary retirement consultation. There is no cost. There is no obligation. This is a chance to get a clearer view of your retirement. The number again is 630-934-1855 or visit alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
All right, it's a new year and the opportunity for a fresh start. Sure, you'll set those familiar personal goals, embark on that healthy diet, drink less and start a workout routine. But what about your business goals? Do they match your personal ones? How about spending more time with your family this year? What about increasing your savings for that vacation home? Maybe this is the year you've set out to train the next generation to take over or create that coveted exit strategy. No matter what your business resolutions are, Turnkey is all about helping you to fulfill them. It's time to make your business work for the life that you want. Turnkey will help you turn around any area of complexity to help you meet your goals. From fresh ideas about mitigating taxes or ways to become more efficient and profitable, to making this the year to finally upgrade your technology so your business runs more efficiently. Turnkey will make your business resolutions soar in 2024. Visit today at turnkey.pro. That's turnkey.pro. Chronic pain, it can ruin your marriage, bring on depression. It's no way to live. But now there's a non-surgical way to get rid of that hip, back, and joint pain. It's called QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative non-surgical pain relief. Did you know that your body has what it needs to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue? And QC Kinetics can make it happen. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Hundreds of board-certified QC Kinetic providers have treated tens of thousands of satisfied patients all over America. People like you and me with back pain, hip pain, any pain associated with arthritis or an injury. Folks, this is not a Band-Aid. This is a revolutionary treatment that can get you moving again. Get your life back. And listen, it's non-surgical. So fight back against the pain. Take the first step now. Call QC Kinetics. This is the number, 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955.
45 years ago, I started Permaseal Basement Systems working out of my apartment and F-150 pickup truck. Today, we've helped over 500,000 people in Greater Chicagoland make their homes healthy and more valuable. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer. I'd like to thank all of you who have trusted Permaseal and reassure you that your trust is well placed. You can trust Permaseal to use only our own professional employees that will respect you and your home. Trust that we will deliver the best value, using fair book pricing so you don't have to negotiate to get the best deal. And trust Permaseal to always stand behind our work and our word. This January, we're celebrating with an anniversary sale offering 10% off all our services or up to 24-month interest-free financing, waterproofing, crawl space encapsulation, structural repairs, even our new attic insulation service. Be sure to call by January 31st to get great savings and great service. 800-421-7325, 800-421-SEAL, or visit permaseal.net.
Long day. Time to charge up.
Hey, just like my delivery truck.
Even kids know to keep business moving forward, it's time to make the switch to electric vehicles. Whether you have one van or a whole fleet of trucks, resources are available to help you make the changes that make sense.
Let's go!
Beep, beep.
Go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
Are you ready for an adventure of a lifetime? Journey with me, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, on the Patriots Alaska cruise this summer. It's an incredible opportunity to engage with me and other like-minded patriots on an epic 7-day cruise over 4th of July weekend. Witness the untouched wilderness of Alaska while discussing America's future. What could be better? Join me from June 29th to July 6th. Call 855-565-5519 or reserve online. PatriotsAlaskaCruise.com.
Lots of channels, nothing to watch, especially if you're looking outside of big corporate control. It's time to interrupt your regularly scheduled programs with something worth watching. The new Salem News Channel. Straightforward, unfiltered, in-depth insight and analysis from the greatest collection of conservative minds, all in one place. SNC is home to Dennis Prager, Mike Gallagher, Sebastian Gorka, and more. Watch anytime on any screen. Free 24/7. Find what you're looking for at snc.tv.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to former acting ICE Director Tom Homan about the legislation bouncing around the halls of Congress with respect to border policy and the politics of it all. That's Tom Homan at 8:08.
But now let's head into that newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
New emails show the Johnson administration knew about desperately bad conditions at a city-run migrant shelter in the Pilsen neighborhood. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
For the fourth time in less than a week, the U.S. has gone on the attack in Yemen. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, hitting Iran-backed Houthi militants. The U.S. just redesignated as a terror group for all the recent attacks in and around the Red Sea, including an American ship yesterday that got hit and caught fire.
Yesterday's strikes involved Tomahawk cruise missiles with 500-pound warheads fired by at least one U.S. warship and a submarine.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson also reports Iran is praising the Houthis.
Iran's foreign minister boasting about its support, declaring, quote, the security of the Red Sea is tied to the developments in Gaza and everyone will suffer if Israel's crimes in Gaza do not stop. All the resistance fronts will remain active.
Now, Pakistan launched airstrikes in Iran, retaliating for Iran's attacks in its countries. Both target militant groups. Iran also this week bombed Israeli and ISIS targets inside Iraq and Syria. President Biden met with congressional leaders, pushing for new military aid for Israel and Ukraine. The top House Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, says
funding the Ukrainian war effort is in America's national security interest.
But House Speaker Mike Johnson says he told the president,
we understand that all these things are important, but we must insist that the border be the top priority.
As Republicans demand policy changes to stop record illegal immigration. New Hampshire's Republican primary is just 5 days away.
The majority of Americans have said they don't want their options to be two 80-year-olds for president. We've got to move past that.
Nikki Haley says she's only focused on former President Trump, with Ron DeSantis a distant third in the polls there. But before former President Trump rallied in New Hampshire last night, he was in court again in New York for a civil defamation trial. The judge threatened to remove the former president for muttering witch hunt and being disruptive.
He's a nasty judge. He's a Trump-hating guy, and it's obvious to everybody in the court. It's a disgrace.
Unemployment fell last week. The 187,000 first-time claims, the fewest in more than a year. America's listening to Fox News.
19 degrees, cloudy skies at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Fire damaged two homes in the West Englewood neighborhood overnight. A woman was rushed from that scene in critical condition to a nearby hospital. New emails show the Johnson administration knew about a desperately badly run city migrant shelter in the Pilsen neighborhood with horrific conditions. Back in October, aldermen emailed Johnson staffers to try and bring to light unsanitary and unsafe conditions at the shelter. The email points out insufficient bathrooms, raw sewage, and cockroach infestations. The email came weeks before 5-year-old Jean Carlos Martinez Rivero died after falling ill at that shelter. At an unrelated event, the governor was asked about the unsafe conditions.
We are trying to keep, in very difficult circumstances, trying to keep people safe in shelters as we're moving them on to more permanent housing and jobs. So I know that's the mayor's dedicated to that, as am I.
City Council's Latino caucus will convene a meeting today to try to come up with a short-term fix. Heather Mack will spend 26 years in federal prison for her mother's brutal killing at an Indonesian resort in 2014. A federal judge sentenced Mack yesterday. Mack's attorney is Mike Leonard.
Genuinely, extremely remorseful about what happened. I thought she did a great job of conveying that to Judge Kennelly. From Judge Kennelly's remarks, he clearly believed what she said, that she is in fact very remorseful of what happened here. Can't take it back, as she said.
The former Oak Park woman faced federal charges in the U.S., accusing her and her former boyfriend of plotting to kill Sheila Von Wiesmack, whose body was discovered in a suitcase left outside of a Bali resort. Chicago sports. Bulls and Raptors on the docket for tonight, while the Blackhawks game was canceled yesterday in Buffalo. They'll try that game again today. The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. Turnkey knows small business. Reduce your costs, find new revenue streams, grow your team. Do more in 2024 with help of Turnkey. Managed IT, marketing, and business consulting. Visit Turnkey.pro today. That's Turnkey.pro. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Shares of credit card giant Discover Financial Services are slumping, down nearly 10%. Discover says it has set aside an extra $1 billion to protect itself in the event its customers aren't paying their bills. Also, Discover's profit did come in weaker than forecast. Chipmaker Taiwan Semiconductor shares are up 1%. The company's profit slumped 19% from a year ago, but did come in better than expected. TSMC is offering signs the tech downturn is ending. It expects revenue to grow more than 20% this year. Longtime Meta Platforms executive Sheryl Sandberg is leaving the company board after 12 years. Sandberg says she will not stand for re-election in May, but will remain an advisor for the company. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Gonna say I think that Tucker Carlson is the easiest and the best choice. It's the easiest to give us a chance for victory. Now, whether or not Tucker wants to be vice president remains to be seen, but we trust him. He's 100% America first, and we can waive the lie detector test for Tucker. There's no mystery. We know what he believes.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Cooler weather is here. Is your vehicle ready for the winter? Remke's Garage, your diesel engine and transmission specialist, can inspect your vehicle so you won't end up on the side of the road. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's Garage is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. When was the last time you changed your filters, checked your batteries, inspected your tires, belts and hoses, or flushed your coolant? Be prepared. Bring your Mercedes Sprinter, Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, or Isuzu diesel truck to Remke's Garage and have your tires inspected as well. Ask about the fleet-worthy commercial-grade Toyo Celsius Cargo all-weather tire. The premier tire to accommodate the rainy, icy, snowy, and cold weather we encounter here in the Chicagoland area. Don't get stuck. Remke's Garage is your diesel and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit remkesgarage.com. That's REMKES garage.com and schedule your inspection today.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow. And I just appreciate, I'm impressed. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Honey, I am like a different woman. Finally one day I kept seeing that commercial and I said, what the heck, what do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't let everyday aches and pains keep you from living your best life.
I don't think I really understood what people meant when they talked about pain until I started feeling it myself.
Start feeling better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement designed to support your body's fight against aches and pains.
Not only do I move better without pain, I just feel better.
Created by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that target 4 metabolic pathways to address pain. Relief Factor doesn't just mask aches and pains, it helps reduce or even eliminate them.
Today, I do the things I love, and it doesn't occur to me to think about pain.
You can feel the difference all day, every day.
Join the over 1 million people who have tried Relief Factor's 3-week Quick Start Kit. It's only $19.95. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. And feel the difference of Relief Factor.
It's 8:09. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. We'll start on 8094 this morning. Accident on both shoulders westbound between Central and Martin Luther King. Veterans Memorial jam solid northbound right at 71st. Tri-State stop and go northbound right at the Stevenson Expressway. DuSable Lakeshore Drive reopened but still solid traffic after being shut down for 3.5 hours from an earlier accident with injuries. I-57 in the Bishop Ford jammed into the Ryan merge. Ryan at 38 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy this morning a mess, 90 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, here's Steve Williams.
Clouds and cold today. Winter weather advisory in effect for this evening. Today's high 23. Snow tonight 1 to 2 inches, low 10. For tomorrow, another coating to an inch of snow. The high tomorrow at 12. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
19 at O'Hare, 18 at DuPage Airport. Your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So there's this big confab with congressional leaders and Biden at the White House to talk about the border. And sort of like the Rashomon effect, a bunch of eyewitnesses that have very different reviews of what transpired in that meeting. Some suggesting that Biden realizes that there's a crisis despite saying there isn't a crisis, and he is open to making policy changes. And others saying, well, here's a Chuck Schumer, Senate Majority Leader Pagliacci.
We said we have to do both. There were a couple of people in the room who said, let's do border first. We said we have to do both together.
And by both, he means we have to throw money at the border as well as throwing money at Ukraine. We won't just throw money at the border. Well, I think the House Republicans understand, or should at this point, that throwing money at the border is not the issue. It is the policies as memorialized in H.R. 2 that need to be changed before you have a conversation about anything else, it would seem to me. Some Republicans not getting the message. Again, we talked about this a bit earlier, but I want to get our next guest's comment on it. This is the Dignity Act, a legislation sponsored by Republican Representative Maria Gonzalez and Democrat Rep. Hillary Scholten, the former of Florida, the latter of Michigan. They were on with Brett Baer yesterday discussing it, and this despite that the House Republican caucus has already moved H.R. 2. Maria Gonzalez apparently thinks that this is sort of a bigger, better deal that should be under consideration.
Act $25 billion to secure the border and catch and release, expedite asylum processing, criminal background checks, restitution, mandatory E-Verify for employment, year-round H-2A farm ranch worker visas. Congresswoman Salazar, why is this important, and how does it track differently than what's happening up there?
It's very important because it's the only bill in Congress that is bipartisan, and not only that, it accomplishes exactly what the country needs: to seal the border, secure the border. And once that is done, once that border is secured, then we look back and we give some type of dignity to those people who have been here for more than 5 years, who are contributing with your economy. Like my colleague said, dignity is not an immigration reform law. This is a national security. It's an economic bill, because you know that the business sector is saying we need hands. Those hands are here. We just need to legalize them. I'm not talking about citizenship. I'm talking about dignity, not amnesty. Dignity. This bill has...
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Tom Homan, former acting ICE director. Tom, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Dignity, not amnesty. Are you buying that?
No, she's not very smart, obviously. Because when you reward... every time you talk about amnesty, it drives more people to come. When you reward illegal behavior, it drives more people to come. Why do you think only the people that are ordered removed by the immigration judge, if they're not in custody, why does only 6% leave? Because they know if they hide out long enough, they're going to get something. They're going to get amnesty. They're going to get DACA. We need to stop that. If people get ordered removal, they need to leave. So, look, we need to secure the border, absolutely. But you don't reward illegal behavior. We keep going through the same vicious cycle every few years. And I guarantee the more attention they get on this dignity thing, the more they're going to come because they want to be a part of it. They're going to say, well, I've been here for 7 years. And they'll go to some farm. They'll get a letter saying they worked on that farm for the last 7 years. We dealt with this in 1986 after IRCA. She's doing on the same road. So, no, secure the border. There should be no compromise in that. H.R. 2 would be a game changer because most of it contains the Trump policies. I helped, write some of that. H.R. 2 will work. H.R. 2 will fix the border. That's what we need to stick to. And the House passed that, and there was bipartisan support. Not as much as we wanted, but you know what? It's going to work. And there's a lot of Democrat mayors and governors want to see it fixed. So I say we go over H.R. 2.
And the effort by Republicans, some Republicans, certainly Democrats in both chambers, say, we'll give you $12 billion. We'll give you $25 billion. Is the money that's being thrown around, is that of any interest to you at this stage?
It's not a money issue. It's a policy issue. You said it earlier. I think that's your first statement you made. You're exactly on point. This is a policy issue. You don't need more Border Patrol agents. You don't need more technology. Look, President Trump secured the border at the highest level ever in history of this nation, and we did it through policy. If they would put the Remain in Mexico program back in and third safe country agreements with the Central American countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, they would fix 85% of this problem tomorrow. And the highest courts in the land that says the Remain in Mexico program was legal, people can still claim asylum, but they're going to wait in Mexico. And why is that important? Because if you look at immigration court data over the last decade, 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border never get relief in the U.S. courts because they simply don't qualify for asylum. And what happens to that 9 out of 10 that gets ordered removed? They don't leave unless they're in detention, and this administration is releasing everybody. So bottom line is, Remain in Mexico was a game changer. People are still claim asylum, but they're not going to be allowed to be a fugitive of the United States when they lose their case. It worked. We proved it worked. If they want to secure the border, that's what they do. It doesn't cost another dollar.
Well, how did you interpret this open negotiation between the Mexican president, AMLO, and Biden about Mexican help and stopping the flow to the southern border? And in response to a commitment to help, AMLO wants $20 billion for Latin America. He wants to end the blockade in Cuba. He wants to end the sanctions in Venezuela. He wants 10 million Hispanics from various countries in the country right now to be given permanent legal status. I mean, that's a pretty bold negotiation. That's a pretty bold ask by the Mexican president. And I just, when we were talking about it before, I'm just left wondering, what does he know about President Biden and his actual position and what he is and is not willing to do to make such a bold demand?
Well, AMLO knows that we got a weak administration. We got a weak president. We got a weak secretary, and we got a weak Secretary of State with Blinken. He's calling the shots. And that's pretty pathetic because under President Trump, he didn't ask Mexico to help. He told them to help. He says, you're going to put military in the southern and northern border. You're going to participate in the third safe country agreements. You're going to host the Remain in Mexico program. And if you don't, I'm going to tear the hell out of you. And they did it. Central American countries on the third safe country agreement, he called them and said, I want you to be a part of it. No, we're not going to do that. Okay, well, look, I'm going to take every dollar of international aid away that I give you guys millions of dollars every year. Guess what? Within 48 hours, they came to the table. President Trump was a game changer. This administration has given Mexico millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to help stem the flow, and it's like they're being held hostage. President Trump, when President Trump asked me that question, what we have done in the past, Tom, he said, well, we send millions of dollars down there to create opportunity zones so people don't have to leave their countries and create jobs down there. And how's the success of that, Tom? It doesn't work. The money doesn't get where it needs to get. The countries are corrupt. It just lines at pockets of politicians. He says, well, I'm not going to give him a single dollar. I'm going to take money away. And that's what he did, and they came to the table. It didn't cost him a dime. That shows a powerful president versus a weak president.
And now during a time when the U.S. needs more, detention beds and things like this, Tell us how Biden is stripping ICE of their resources.
Oh, they're shutting down ICE detention beds all the time. There's a facility in Northern California. It's a 2,000-bed facility, state-of-the-art facility. They got 8 people there. 8. Because they're trying to shut it down. They've shut down 3 or 4 other facilities. So while now they're asking for more money for detention, at the same time they have thousands of empty ICE beds. Again, it's a shell game. They're asking for more money for detention to make it sound like they're going to do something, but that money will be earmarked for NGOs to put them on airplanes and send them to the city of their choice, put them in a hotel room at $500 a night, feed them 3 meals a day with free medical care. At the same time, the beds in ICE cost about $127 a night, 24/7 medical, 3 squares a day, but they'd much rather have them not in detention. And why is that? Because of what I just told you. If they're not in detention, they're not going to leave when they get an order removal. That is what they're doing.
Yesterday, you were in a hearing, congressional House committee hearing, talking about a number of issues related to the border, of course, but one of them was fentanyl trafficking. And this is a big issue since last couple of years, we've had a record number of overdoses in this country. And there seemed to be a bit of an argument about how fentanyl is getting into this country, whether it's coming through ports of entry or it's coming through all of the spots along our southern border that are largely unguarded, at least some of the time. Can you just address that in terms of how the traffickers work, the drug traffickers, as well as the human traffickers?
Look, the Dems want to claim that most of the fentanyl comes through the port of entry. Why do they want to do that? Because they don't want the blame put on them that they're not securing the border. The border's wide open, so the fentanyl's coming across, killed 112,000 Americans. It's much better for them to say it's coming through the port of entry where we're fully staffed and we're seizing it. It's just ridiculous argument. I've did this for over 30 years. The criminal cartel is going to use the route of least resistance. Do you think they're going to send every ounce of fentanyl to a port of entry when they know every vehicle is going to be stopped, every license plate is going to be run, every driver is going to be spoken to, and depending on those responses, depending on the CBP targeting system, they're going to secondary vehicle. So, and it's ridiculous they say it all comes through the port of entry. Now, I'll say one thing. Most of it seized at a port of entry. Why? Because they're fully staffed. But between the port of entries right now, people need to understand some of the sectors in the last half a year, there are several sectors on the southwest border, Border Patrol sectors, there hasn't been a single Border Patrol agent on patrol because they're all busy making baby formula, changing diapers, making hospital runs, taking people to the airports. Not a single agent within hundreds of miles. And they're going to want to try to convince American people, oh, there's no fentanyl coming through there. It is a ridiculous, nonsensical argument. I'm telling you, I've done this for 30 years. Fentanyl is coming between the port of entry because the Border Patrol is overwhelmed with this humanitarian issue, so there's wide open gaps. It's also coming maritime. Coast Guard seizing record amounts of it because they're trying to go around the ports of entry and bring it into the water. So the argument yesterday was they kept saying, well, most of it's come through the port of entry, and I kept telling them, no, most of it's seized at a port of entry because the vehicles are stopped. You can't sit there and tell me you know what's happening between the port of entry because no one's there.
And so the same thing, I assume, with human traffickers. I mean, you talk about hundreds of miles of unguarded territory that's apparently navigable between ports of entry. So that's where they operate, too, path of least resistance?
Absolutely. And that's why we have just shy of 2 million known gotaways now. Known gotaways. People are caught in video, drone traffic, central traffic. Got a video of them, got an image. But they weren't arrested because Border Patrol was, again, too busy making baby formula and changing diapers and all that stuff. So, 1.9 million gotaways.
Well, what about the unaccompanied minors? I mean, one day last December, there were 390 children that were unaccompanied minors. What happens with them? Where do they go?
We're at 440,000 now, and they go to ORR. ORR will, release them to so-called vetted sponsors, sometimes relatives, many times not. But here's the issue with that. Secretary Becerra, the head of HHS, testified. No, he didn't. He gave a speech the other day. He was bragging about how quick they release these kids. They're not in custody very long. We release them quick as possible. Okay, well, congratulations. You lost 100,000 of them. As of 6 months ago, they lost track of 85,000. Now we're over 100,000 because they released people to sponsors that weren't vetted properly. We found some of these children working midnight shift in meat packing plants, cleaning up entrails. We found them in forced labor situations. We found them in indentured servitude and bonded. It's just there's at least 100,000 children they can't find. They can't find the sponsors. They can't find the children. And based on my 34 years experience, I'm telling you, some of these children are living the life of hell. They're going to be shown in pornographic movies. They're living with pedophiles. They're going to be in forced labor. It's just terrible how this administration, they claim to be humane, but this is the most inhumane administration I've ever seen.
Tom Homan, former acting ICE director. Tom, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, business owners, are you wondering how to grow your business? Do you need cash flow and a ready source for financing? Well, Signature Bank can help. Hi, Mike Gallagher here to let you know that Signature Bank's loan decisions are made locally by a team who knows your name, cares about your business, and is invested in your success. When you need advice about your business or even have a question, Signature Bank is there to help. There are no handoffs or call centers. This is a team that wants to get to know you and your business. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. When I call, someone picks up the phone on the other end. And with Signature Bank, I can securely bank anywhere, anytime. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630. That's 773-467-5630. Or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. Signaturebank.bank. Your business could be Signature Bank's next success story. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right. Just got done doing it. Taking Balance of Nature. I take 6 capsules, 3 fruit, 3 vegetables, and crack them open and put them in warm water, and voila, I love it. I feel good that I'm doing something for myself. I have higher energy. I used to get B12 shots all the time. I don't need to now that I started taking Balance of Nature. Real food, real science, real nutrition. And also taking Balance of Nature is Justin Kosick, our technical producer. How's it going? How's your Balance of Nature journey?
It's going great. I take it every morning, and I can tell when I haven't taken it yet.
Yep.
Can tell there's a difference.
Yes, because you're having quite a morning today. Balance of Nature is the best part of your day, right? Sure it is.
Yes, it is.
Be like Justin. The number to call is 800-246-8751, 800-246-8751. Use discount code Chicago or online at balanceofnature.com. Discount code Chicago.
Happy New Year from Dutch Farms. Since 1987, Dutch Farms has been offering cheese, eggs, and hundreds of other dairy items to local grocery stores throughout Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana. Our goal is to bring the highest quality dairy items to you and your family at unsurpassed value. Dutch Farms is a 3-generation, local, family-owned business. Much of Dutch Farms' success can be directly attributed to our ongoing commitment to faith and family, to community, and to honoring the traditions of our Dutch heritage. Now, more than ever, we're prepared to carry on our long-standing promise to our customers, partners, team members, and neighbors. As we turn the page on 2023, Dutch Farms would like to wish the AM 560 listeners health and happiness in the new year. Please visit DutchFarms.com to learn more about the #1 dairy brand in all of Chicagoland, Dutch Farms.
For armed or unarmed security, average isn't good enough. You deserve more. You need more.
Morrison means more.
Morrison Security. More deterrence and prevention with customized programs that fit your budget. Cost-effective, sensible solutions for all businesses and facilities.
Morrison means more.
More peace of mind, knowing your security guards are well-trained professionals with a track record of getting results and serving exactly your needs. Morrison Security personnel are constantly trained for readiness and are prepared for any given situation that can occur at a job site.
Morrison means more.
More reliability of management for quick and effective solutions at your property. Morrison Security is responsive. They're always available to you.
Morrison means more.
More awareness of any challenges you face with protecting people, property, and assets. For armed and unarmed security, don't settle for substandard or average. Security is too important. Contact them and find out how you can get more. MorrisonSecurity.com. MorrisonSecurity.com.
Morrison means more.
It's a new year, and that means New Year's resolutions. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and if one of your New Year's resolutions was to do more to help others, then we want to let you know that you still have the opportunity to make a difference in the lives of children in Latin America and the Caribbean through Food for the Poor. Your donation of just $80 provides food for an entire year for 2 children. That's life-changing. Just because the Christmas season is over, that doesn't mean that the need has gone away. Food for the Poor is a faith-based organization that works with partners on the ground to make sure these children are fed. You know, we talk a lot about the root causes of our immigration crisis, and one of those causes is the situation in many of these countries. This is your chance to help take care of others. To make a donation of any amount, just visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. That's 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor. Thanks again for your generosity.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Cooler weather is here. Is your vehicle ready for the winter? Remke's Garage, your diesel engine and transmission specialist, can inspect your vehicle so you won't end up on the side of the road. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. The shop at Remke's Garage is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. When was the last time you changed your filters, checked your batteries, inspected your tires, belts and hoses, or flushed your coolant? Be prepared. Bring your Mercedes Sprinter, Ford Power Stroke, Dodge Cummins, Chevy Duramax, or Isuzu diesel truck to Remke's Garage and have your tires inspected as well. Ask about the fleet-worthy commercial-grade Toyo Celsius Cargo all-weather tire. The premier tire to accommodate the rainy, icy, snowy, and cold weather we encounter here in the Chicagoland area. Don't get stuck. Remke's Garage is your diesel and Toyo tire headquarters. Visit remkesgarage.com. That's REMKES garage.com and schedule your inspection today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We haven't talked to him in a while. We'll talk to Conrad Black. Some of his friends are over there in Davos at the World Economic Forum. We'll get his reviews on the ruling class at 8:38.
And Friday Night Lights in Loyola. Not everyone's happy. Wait till you meet this alleged man. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Smith.
8:32. We have 20 degrees in Chicago, cloudy skies. And the Senate could soon vote on a bill to temporarily fund the government. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn this morning says her colleagues in the House should follow the Senate's lead.
We want to avoid a government shutdown. Government shutdowns are expensive. And what we need to do is get busy with these appropriations bills. The House is going to have to pick up their pace.
House Speaker Mike Johnson is facing criticism for further delaying votes on regular spending bills. The short-term bill will likely require Democrat support to pass the House. Texas authorities have started arresting migrants and charging them with criminal trespass. It happened Wednesday night and marked the first time since a policy was enacted when the state took control of a park in Eagle Pass, Texas. Florida Governor and GOP presidential candidate Ron DeSantis is expected to be back in New Hampshire to make a final push in that state before the Tuesday primary. It comes after news broke of the DeSantis camp now shifting focus to South Carolina. Fox's Alexis McAdams is on the ground in Manchester, New Hampshire.
We did have a chance to sit down with the Florida governor in his last sit-down interview before he hit the road to stop at home just to basically sleep in his own bed for one night in Florida before he comes back here to the Granite State and hits the road again, really trying to gain support here on the ground. But he says it's not true that he is skipping New Hampshire in any way and has still put in plenty of time, and says it doesn't matter what the polls say because Nikki Haley isn't going to beat Donald Trump. He tells me he plans to return on Friday here for a series of town halls and then will campaign over the weekend weekend in South Carolina. This comes as the pro-DeSantis super PAC tells me they have laid off some staff, wouldn't say how many, and have moved other members from Iowa to South Carolina, which they say was always part of the plan.
Ad tracking firm Ad Impact says neither the DeSantis campaign nor his aligned super PACs have run television spots in New Hampshire in months. Fire damaged 2 homes in the West Englewood neighborhood overnight. A woman was rushed to the hospital in critical condition from the scene. New emails show the Johnson administration knew about desperately bad conditions at a city-run migrant shelter in Pilsen in the fall. Back in October, aldermen emailed Johnson staffers bringing to light unsanitary and unsafe conditions. The email came weeks before 5-year-old Jean Carlos Martinez Rivero died after falling ill at the shelter. City Council's Latino caucus will convene a meeting today to try to come up with a short-term fix. Wilmington residents are trying to hold back rising river waters with sandbags while emergency officials are trying to melt Kankakee River ice jams. The jam is at 10 miles and building this morning. Will County is now pumping warm water from the nearby Dresden power plant in, around, and under the river ice jam to try and melt a channel and free the ice. The White Sox are in talks about possibly building a new stadium. Sun-Times says the team is negotiating with developer Related Midwest about the possibility of building a new ballpark in the South Loop on a parcel known as the 78. More than 100 animals sheltered at Paws Tinley Park were moved to a nearby animal hospital in Orland Park after a fire broke out in a laundry room at the Paws Tinley Park facility on Wednesday night. The shelter will be closed until further notice. Bulls and Raptors on the sports docket tonight. Blackhawks take on the Sabres, and a Big Ten basketball win for Northwestern over Maryland. 8:35, we'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Sees America waking up.
These past several months have seen Harvard and higher education face a series of sustained and unprecedented challenges. Because the American people are waking up to the cesspools that our universities are. I've called them moral and intellectual cesspools for decades, and now a lot of Americans agree.
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Long day. Time to charge up.
Hey, just like my delivery truck.
Even kids know to keep business moving forward, it's time to make the switch to electric vehicles. Whether you have one van or a whole fleet of trucks, resources are available to help you make the changes that make sense.
Let's go.
Beep, beep.
Go to ComEd.com/clean to learn more about how going electric connects us to a better way of doing business and a better future for generations to come.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
You cannot live forever, but your legacy can. For over 185 years, families have trusted Catholic Cemeteries of Chicago to set their legacies in stone. With 47 locations throughout Cook and Lake counties, a prepaid cemetery plan locks in today's prices and safeguards against rising inflation. Visit CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org or call 708-236-5490 to schedule a free consultation today.
Having health insurance is important. So, if you or anyone in your family has Medicaid or CHIP, listen up. Check your mail for a renewal form from your state. Complete the form and mail it back right away so you don't lose your coverage. If you do lose Medicaid or CHIP, visit healthcare.gov to see if you're eligible to enroll in a low-cost, quality health plan. Keep your family covered. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
.38, let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. is a service of invisiblefence.com. Strong enough for a Mastiff, but gentle enough for a Chihuahua. Invisible Fence brand is more than a fence. Customized for every pet, every need, and every yard. Ensures your pet is protected while giving them more room to run. Learn more at invisiblefence.com. The Eden's at a half-hour Lake Cook Road to the junction. The Kennedy at 90 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now at 95 minutes from 390 into the old post office, while the Ike outbound is 30 minutes back out to Manheim. Stevenson at an hour and 20 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Dan Ryan, 34 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle interchange. Tri-State, bad accident northbound just after North Avenue. A left express lane is blocked. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy, cold, snow showers, high of 23. In our QC Kinetics Weather Center, it's 19 at O'Hare, 21 at Midway. And your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Look, it's not a World Economic Forum without the Kerrys in tow, even though John Kerry is sporting a bit of a long face these days because he had to leave his post as eco-czar. He was there. He's there in Davos, and a Rebel News reporter tracked him down and had some questions for him, and Lord Kerry was none too pleased.
What's the carbon footprint of these events every single year that you come here? You think it's worth it?
That's a stupid question.
Why do you think you're more important? Your carbon footprint doesn't matter, but everybody else around the world...
Nobody ever suggested that. Don't make up stupid questions.
Being here suggests that.
Stupid question.
You being here every single year and doing this suggests that.
And I have done a huge amount.
Yeah, he has. He's done a huge amount of something or another. He's bringing Teresa's ketchup around, make sure that everybody's fully stocked. His daughter also made an appearance.
Oh, so is she going to take over for her father eventually?
Maybe. Sure. The eco-czar in waiting. Her John Kerry's daughter, Vanessa, she's just as apocalyptic as he is, runs in the family.
I cannot think of a topic more urgent, actually, than the intersection of climate change and health. And I apologize that my back is to some folks. The climate crisis is a health crisis, fundamentally. And that actually means it is a crisis, therefore, also of our stability, our security, our economic growth, and our fundamental future as a globe. When we think about it, health is fundamental to everything that we are trying to do. A country like Zambia is now shutting down its schools because of a cholera outbreak that is from increased rainfall. Malaria is spreading in areas where it's been eradicated or removed in many of these countries. We are losing progress against our sustainable development goals. We have put billions of dollars towards
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like we need another lockdown.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. That's what I heard.
I got
lockdown.
I hear what you're saying, Vanessa. All right, lock her down.
Remote learning, let's go.
Well, and don't forget, we've got food sources.
Every meal you make, every bite you take, every single lunch with a crispy crunch, you will eat that box.
Thank you, Klaus. If you thought John and Vanessa were fun, well, you haven't heard anything yet. Because not only do we need a lockdown, we need more Western spend in the developing world, obviously, sure. We need to build that dome the Biden administration was looking at to block out the sun in this country. So we need more domestic spend, too, not to mention subsidizing EV battery makers and solar panel producers and windmill manufacturers and the like. We also need to start putting people in prison. And by people, you know who I'm talking about. Ranchers and fishermen. It's a long past due for farmers and ranchers and fishermen to be removed from polite society. That's not me saying it. This is, a licensed environmental activist. Her name is Jojo Mehta. She's the founder of Stop Ecocide Now. You got to make ecocide a crime. You got to put people away. And this is who the WEF platforms. These are your betters talking to one another.
I mean, ecocide as a word is becoming better known around the world, and the concept is generally mass damage and destruction of nature. But legally speaking, what our organisation and other collaborators aim to do is to have this recognised legally as a serious crime. Because one of the issues that sort of pervades all of this discussion is that we have a kind of cultural, very ingrained habit of not taking damage to nature as seriously as we take damage to people and property. And that, I mean, if you're campaigning for human rights, at least mass murder, torture, all of these things are serious crimes. But there's no equivalent in the environmental space. And so, unlike an international crime like genocide that involves a specific intent, with ecocide, what we see is actually what people are trying to do, what businesses are trying to do, is make money, is farm, is fish, is do all of these things that are, producing energy and so on, as well. But what's missing is the awareness and the conscience around the side effects, around the collateral damage that happens with that.
Yeah. What are you in for? Oh, I accidentally killed a gargoyle gecko. What are you in for? Oh, yeah. I ran over a Guatemalan bearded lizard. Mm-hmm. This is, of course, what the gathering in Davos is all about. For more on these luminaries, mine is Javier Milei, who was a delight we talked about earlier. Conrad Black joins us. We haven't spoken to him in a while. Great to have Lord Black, the Baron Black of Cross Harbor. He's a businessman, writer, former newspaper publisher, as we well know in Chicago. Conrad Black, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good speaking with you again, Dan.
So I know you know some of those enlightened folks in Davos at the World Economic Forum. What's your handle on their persistence in trying to bend the world to their will?
I went to Davos for 20 years, and I was in the media group, and it was indeed I succeeded Bob Maxwell as the chairman of the media group. So it was actually useful for me just talking shop with people in the same business I was in or related businesses. But of course, I got around a bit, and I got to know Klaus Schwab, the founder. And in those days, I'm going back now to the 80s, and then for the 20 years after that, it was less threatening and aggressive than it has become. In those days, it was basically a bunch of Europeans who were a kind of continental form of super patriots, and they acknowledged that Europe had got it terribly wrong 100 years ago, and we got the world wars and Nazism and communism, and that was a bad thing. And then they had to invite the Americans in to keep the Russians out, but the Cold War was ending, and then in that period that I attended, the Cold War did end, and then this new thing started, that they were all going to stand on each other's shoulders and rule the world, again, as they did 100 years ago. And within that, you had the little countries, especially Belgium and the Dutch, taking their revenge by operating the European government, and this way they could get back at centuries of condescension from the bigger powers, Germany and France and England and so on. And but then it was taken over, as so much of our society was, by this new post-Cold War wave, where showing a talented improvisation we would never have guessed they possessed, the international left, after being completely defeated in the Cold War, bloodlessly, climbed onto the environmental bandwagon. It was really just a bunch of conservationists. I mean, legitimate, if tedious conservationists like, Greenpeace, who'd come out and harass American aircraft carriers and things like this, but a legitimate conservationists and butterfly collectors and bird watchers and so on, they pushed them aside, took over the environmental bandwagon, and turned it into a battering ram against capitalism in the name of saving the planet. And of course, it's become a Frankenstein monster. It's lurching all around, and it is festooned with absolute hypocrites like John Kerry, who not only behaves like a wealthy man, he's only a wealthy man through a combination of marriage and the tragic death of his predecessor, his husband, to Mrs. Hines, and so we have this astonishing and virulent, to put it in Miss Kerry's health terms, contagion, this pandemic of utter hypocrisy and nonsense that is really the left trying to squeeze capitalism again, having failed to do so at the political level.
Well, that was essentially the message that Milei delivered in part, which was a sort of a remarkable
very
moment.
Refreshing.
But I'm and I don't the audience seemed like a bit bewildered after getting a 23-minute tongue lashing from the new Argentinian president, and sort of politely clapped and tried to scurry him off stage and pretend that didn't happen as quickly as possible.
Yeah, well, it was like when President Trump addressed them, and basically said what they were saying was a lot of nonsense, and the United States would have nothing to do with it apart from the plan to plant more trees. He was all for that, but the rest of it was bunk, and they,
Well, what did you make of what Jamie Dimon said yesterday, when basically he told Democrats to grow up and be careful about using the term MAGA with a negative connotation?
I agree with him, but I've got to say, to take a quote from Schiller, late you come, but still you come. I mean, he was one of the real cheerleaders of the whole Obama thing. He was an Obama groupie, and but he's a capable banker. There's no doubt about that, and he's in an influential position. And so we accept the grace of conversion in politics as elsewhere. So yeah, I applaud him for it.
Well, is it conversion or is it? Civil strife is not in his business interests, and he wants the Dems
no, it's not just that. He's been pretty clear
better.
He's been pretty clear that these attacks on the oil and gas industry are nonsense, and we shouldn't be doing it, and they have to keep in mind the economic consequences of what they're advocating, and we shouldn't be putting ourselves in the hands of the Chinese and strategic minerals and this sort of thing. I have to say, from what I've seen, he's been fine ever since he triumphantly announced to the then Attorney General, Eric Holder, who's since been surpassed by Mr. Garland as the greatest hypocrite in that office ever, that he was here to surrender the shareholders' money for mistakes his management made. Ever since then, I think he's been on the straight and narrow, and I think we should all welcome him into our midst of sane people.
Well, okay. All right. I'm just, I'm always skeptical. There's a lot on that side, as you say, the Obama cheerleaders that just want the left to be better. I mean, yes, they're not. I mean, Jamie Dimon's too smart to completely go over the edge, although some have.
He got pretty close at one point.
Well, but that's my point. And maybe he just wants the Dems to be a little bit better, be a little less antagonistic, be a little less autocratic. And
so you think it's just tactical advice?
That's what I think. That's what I think.
Look, I have to say, I scarcely know the man. I don't think he would remember me, and I just don't feel qualified to impute motives to him. What you say could be right, but just to judge him on, my view on this is we welcome people who make sense. We can look into their motives later.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a win for us, because that guy was a real enemy from the standpoint of common sense and sensible politics 10 or 12 years ago.
That's a fair point. So give us your handle on where you think this presidential race, I mean, you have great sort of historical perspective on these sorts of moments, and this is an unprecedented one in America. What's your handle on where this country goes in the next 10 months?
I think it goes to Trump. I think it will be seen as a great seminal point in the success and revitalization of American democracy, when the dust settles and cant and emotionalism subside, and people can see that more people in the country are alarmed at the corruption of the justice system and the use of the prosecution system as a method of eliminating political opponents, then they are upset at the thought of a return to office of Donald Trump. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are upset at that prospect, and the Democrats are now left with nothing except Trump equals Hitler, which is about the stupidest and most outrageous and demonstrably false political slogan I have ever heard in a serious democratic country. But I mean, we're comparing him to a man who plunged the world into war and sent 12 million people, totally innocent people by normal criteria, to death camps and incinerated them. I mean, this is just insane. But I think that the problem they've got is not only that they have so horribly mismanaged every single policy area, and have a completely implausible leader that they appear to be, going into the valley of political death with. But the Trump haters hate isn't there anymore. The Trump the people hated, some people, was a somewhat garish, boorish, boastful man that they thought of as a bully and an insufficiently distinguished person to be president. And what they have now is a Trump whose tweets don't have to be walked back every day, and who is clearly he's for years now and reaching a peak at the present, is being assaulted in a completely illegitimate and outrageous and unconstitutional way. And even though he's an ex-president and a billionaire, he's an underdog fighting a just cause to protect himself from oppression. And people identify with that, and they're right to identify with it. I mean, I think even his enemies have to agree that he's fought his corner with great determination and courage, and people naturally admire that. So I think we're in a process where the wheels are coming off the whole Democratic plan to retain office in all four directions. All the wheels are coming off and going off in different directions, and it is impossible. It's an implausible president, a failed administration, a charge, Trump equals Hitler, that no sane person with an IQ in at least double figures could agree with, and it won't fly.
He is Conrad Black, Lord Black, Baron Black of Cross Harbor. I want to be a lord. How do I get that?
Look, that title, it's a grand thing, but it's it helps you get a dinner reservation in London. But that and the correct fare get me on the public transit system in Chicago.
He's also a businessman, writer, former newspaper publisher. He's got a new book I need to mention: The Political and Strategic History of the World, Volume 1, From Antiquity to the Caesars, 14 A.D. Always great to talk to you, Conrad Black. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
Thank you, too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, to social engineering and leftist corporations, do they make you feel like we're kind of living in the twilight zone? Well, you're not alone. Now, our friends at Pure Talk, my wireless company, they know the silent majority is fed up, and I'm calling on all of those Americans, stand with a company that champions your values. The average family is saving almost $1,000 a year. Dial pound 250, say the keyword SAVE NOW. Do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month from our friends at Pure Talk.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund is belong to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax-confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Save up to 80% when you file with TaxSlayer. Start for free.
Looking for a winter destination to keep your golf skills sharp? Look no further than the Golf Factory, located in Mount Prospect in the Randhurst Mall. With 10 TrackMan golf simulators, a full bar with a handcrafted food menu to enjoy while you play, you'll find a complete indoor golf experience at the Golf Factory in Mount Prospect. Come and enjoy state-of-the-art simulators that use the most popular launch monitor on the PGA Tour, providing the most realistic indoor golf experience possible. Looking to practice? These simulators read 27 data points to help you fix your swing. Want to play? You'll find nearly 300 real-world golf courses and add 4 new courses each month. Would you like to compete with your friends or make new ones? Leagues and monthly competitions are now available. Looking to entertain? Groups of 75 can be accommodated at the Golf Factory in Mount Prospect. See for yourself why the Golf Factory in Mount Prospect is Chicagoland's premier destination for indoor golf. Visit online today at golffactory.golf. That's golffactory.golf.
AM 560, The Answer.
Baron Dan of Wheaton. That has a good ring to it.
Yeah. Lord Croft.
Lord
Your
Croft
dinner
of Naples.
ready.
I like that.
Tea. All right, we're going to have to get to the Loyola story tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
It's greatest thing. That Wilmette always delivers, I can tell you that. All right, thanks to Justin Kosick, our technical producer, and Quinn McCarthy, our executive director. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now off to the newsroom we go. Lord Scott is here with the news.
New emails show the Johnson administration knew about desperately bad conditions at a city-run migrant shelter. Thousands of migrant students are now enrolled in CPS. Teachers complain they need more resources.